Welcome, Aegis Champions League lovers and Salt and Mine watchers, to another stream on the B stream covering the Aegis Champions League in its summer split here as we are winding down. This is weird to say out loud. The first of two GSL stages here in our 24 team bracket, as we will decide which two of our teams today go up to the B pool versus the C pool in a final best of three here. It's going to be Apex Mission Impossible taking on Prosperity Esports, and of course is the dynamic duo that somehow end up talking about infectious diseases on broadcast, myself and Shibby, to take you through the matchup.
2 weeks in a row. See, I told you guys I didn't quit. Like,
Shibby's
I'm
not
here.
retired.
Yeah, like who knows? Like the rumors, my death has been exaggerated. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row covering the B stream for ACL, and like you said, Slayer, a bit of a complicated mess of a GSL, but it actually is, I think, one of the best ways to get the most robust kind of fair pool, right? Arguably, you guys want to be in like the upper pools, pool A and pool B. So both of the teams are obviously vying for that win. Because if you're on those lower pools, it does get a little bit harder once we get into the playoff section of ACL and the way it's jam-packed. So I'm excited. This feels like a match made directly for me. I mean, I get to cast Lojaz again. I get to cast Icelandic Hero, who's one of my favorite players on Ole Miss last year, right? I mean, you've got Kongzi in there. You've got so many players that I'm familiar with, either from the CLOL side or just from the NACL Tier 3 side. So I'm really happy. This is going to be a fun series. Two really, really good teams in my mind, and I think both of these guys definitely have the potential to make some noise in ACL. Winning it is a different story because of how stacked this ACL is, because now we are an official Tier 2 partner, and so NACL teams can now compete. But I definitely think both of these teams have dark horse potential, especially if Icelandic is playing on a normal ping, because right now I still think in group stages, I still think this guy's playing on 110 ping from Iceland.
It sounds like what we got confirmed there for Icelandic. But we'll talk about Prosperity and AMI a bit more once we get some downtime in the game, because we are already set up to get into our Game 1 draft here. Was able to talk a little bit about it on LPL broadcast. We are on 25-15, if you remember, which I do want to continue to bring up because there is a bit of a decline in the priority on those engaged supports, more so the protector supports, I would say. Braum got gutted with his early game armor ability. He's a lot squishier. Alistair also gets a bit chunked away. Rel a little bit touched up. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see either Inflame or Protoss, especially Protoss, who I think has one of the widest champion pools of any of the support players we have in the ACL. This guy will play Heimerdinger support in like way later Fearless formats if you give it to him. Wonder where they're going to go with support here, as we do start with Prosperity on the blue side, AMI on the red side. And whenever we start going through these bans, Shibby, especially you already mentioned both of our junglers, Lojaz and Icelandic, two of the upper tier junglers, more experienced junglers in the ACL. You got to think the priority, especially for Prosperity at B1, is going to lie with him if we see a Wukong, a Xin Zhao, a Pantheon get through here in this draft.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned kind of Protoss' champion pool, because it is interesting, right? You got to realize AMI is like a mishmash of people that have made NACL, and for Protoss, the dude was one game away multiple times making NACL, right? Like, it is kind of crazy how we could have seen a completely different roster competing at the moment, but I'm excited. Yeah, it's interesting because he can play the Elise, he can play the Heimerdinger. Sometimes I feel like Protoss does lack a little bit of efficiency on the more traditional supports. It's not that he can't play it, but if you're going up against somebody on Prosperity side who just kind of plays the traditional supports, who's like a Thresh player, like a Rel player, like you mentioned, and I do like how you touched upon the fact that a lot of the armor has been removed from, like you said, the more Vanguard style, protector style supports. I think Thresh opens up a big window for a lot of these teams if you have the ability to pilot this champion, because now his armor gain is going to be better or higher as a tank support than some of the other ones that we're typically seeing. And I like how you mentioned Rel as well, but we may end up seeing more like poke lanes or enchanter lanes here, which if that's the wheelhouse that Prosperity wants to go, I mean, Kongzi is one of the hardest AD carries I've seen, given what I've seen he can do in collegiate.
Yeah, I also just love his mentality. There's no role that's more important to think that you are the best player on the Rift than AD carry. That's just not
no
even a debate. A little bit of bias, but I think AD carry is like the most. I think this is actually anti-bias. We're gonna say the most ego-driven role, and that's a good thing in competitive because you need to think you're the best player to be that locked in, especially with those clicks. Ooh. But we go through a ban phase that sees no junglers come off the board, 0 priority junglers. Wukong, Pantheon, Xin Zhao, all your favorites are up. And Prosperity are going to lock in a Yone with a bit of flex potential, but definitely a very big counter pick if AMI want to punish it.
Yeah, I mean, Yunara is banned out. Ziggs as well being banned out from Apex Mission Impossible indicates that you want to take like an Azir. I wouldn't be surprised if they just take Wukong Azir here. Lojaz plays a ton of Wukong. I wouldn't be surprised if AMI blocks the Azir in. That's a very good team fight composition. Still allows you to flex, but instead they're gonna opt in for the Pantheon, which look, granted, I was getting roasted earlier in the Salty Runback chat about this. 4 or 5 months ago, I thought Pantheon was a feast famine champion. He still kind of is in some essence, right? If you don't get him going, he does kind of fall off a little bit. But you know, late game pressure with his ability to side lane and just kind of be anywhere on the map, he kind of functions as like a Nocturne where he's almost always shadowing their strongest side laner come like 25, 30 minutes later into the game. So I'm surprised, but AMI are going to lock down a much more aggressive composition, much more skirmish heavy composition for themselves with that Aurora being locked in. Allows them to fight along the grubs, fight along the Rift Herald a lot smoother and a lot more cleanly. Gives them those opportunities to really take it to Prosperity's face.
And as this draft goes on, Chibi, I'm very intrigued to watch the flexibility of solo lanes for both of these sides. I wonder how spicy one would say these drafts could get, because Aurora top is very annoying to deal with, and Yone can flex into either one of those solo lanes for Prosperity if your solo lanes are comfortable playing it. The Nidalee, I think, is not good already, Chibi. I think it does give you some early game power against Pantheon, but the whole point of picking Yone is that you have a jungler that pairs up very well. Think of Sejuani as like the classic one that pairs up with Yone as a setup. Nidalee does not really fit that role to me. So, especially next to a Scion, I feel like this Nidalee is a bit out of sorts, especially knowing that we heard that Icelandic is playing on like 100 plus ping. Like, a Nidalee on 100 plus ping? Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, if Icelandic's able to land even like 5 spears this game, I'll be very surprised, because 110 ping, I mean, I guess since he's been playing in it for so long, he's kind of like adapted to it. Maybe he's like gonna lead the target, right? Curve the bullet, if anybody knows that reference. But there is the Azir that we mentioned, right? The Aurora does get flexed to that top side into the Scion, which I think is a really good matchup. I think AMI probably had the idea already of doing it, but the fact that, you know, Prosperity locked in that Scion already kind of gives it the ability to like, okay, we'll just get the free lane. Aurora gets to scale. She gets to come into these team fights. Scion's not going to be a big threat. And we still get the Azir matchup into the mid lane. And Azir Yone can go either way. I think it is, you know, I would say Azir can definitely has the ability to like move around and win that matchup a lot more if he can take advantage of the range. But now we're going to see some more AD carry bans. This is very good. Sivir is a Kongzi pick. I want to see if they'll be bold enough to ban the Xayah as well, because that is something he's leaned back on pretty consistently. And I like that Prosperity is targeting Protoss, because I think out of that bottom lane for AMI, no offense, right? I 100%. I love this bottom lane. I think Baz is very good, but like, you know, Protoss is going to be the one dictating what's going to happen in the lane and dictating how it's going to be played based off of his wacky champion pool. So if they take that Nico playmaking ability away, I think you severely nerf the potential of this Apex Mission Impossible bottom lane just booming Kongzi, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think the flip side of that is that Baz, again, I don't want to, this isn't a knock, but I think he's best in like a complementary role to compositions. Like, I think he was a really deadly Ashe player when Ashe was prevalent in the meta. I think his Senna is very, very good. I think he can play the Jhin as well, which are all like complementary AD carries. And luckily for AMI's comp, they're recognizing that because they're drafting 2 heavy damage solo lanes right now. So I would like to see with Varus coming off the board, if you want to get Baz on like a Jhin, just to provide some more range, some extra CC for that pick potential with your Pantheon, I think that's a very good pick. And like you mentioned, Protoss has a ton in his wheelhouse to go to. We'll see which. I assume they're going to leave Protoss on the R5 here. They're probably just going to blind something for Baz. And wow, he goes against my thoughts on Baz as a player. He's going to lock the Lucian. So now we immediately got to start talking about, Chibi, what pairing is best for Protoss next to this Lucian?
He's a good Lucian too. I remember Baz like having some pretty decent games in NACL on the Lucian. So I'm not like particularly surprised. I think from like a stylistic standpoint, you're right. I would have loved the Jhin, potentially the Ashe. Maybe Ashe is a little too immobile, especially into like Yone, Scion, and Nidalee and whatever else they're gonna pick here. Yeah, now Protoss, that's the question, right? What is he gonna pick? Is he gonna rock a Thresh? Is he gonna go something like the Heimerdinger, which he has blocked in before? Like, you could make this lane really unbearable, and Corki being, you know, kind of like a mid-range AD carry in this aspect, obviously the rockets to poke. Like, this R5 could absolutely dumpster this lane if it's the right enchanter or if it's the right kind of poke support that we may end up seeing, right? Heimerdinger is what I'm really looking forward to potentially from Protoss. I don't think this is an Elise game, though. I personally just don't think it is. And there's the Rel that you mentioned way early in the draft coming into fruition, as it is one of those heroes or champions that ended up getting buffed in League of Legends.
Yeah, and that's like the classic Rel pairing. Corki Rel is disgusting on how you can really set up the Phosphorus Bomb in the early game and then play just super engaged with this Corki. Very low range comp though coming out of Prosperity. If you are retrosing on the other side of this composition, you feel like your lane goes well, you're in a pretty big Exodia position. Because as long as you can use your Emperor's Divide to push this Yone off, you constantly push this Rel away from you. Who's really a long range damage threat to stop you and your Sand Soldiers from just burning through everybody except this Scion? So this Azir pick is looking a lot more prosperous, but the Leona is going to come through next to the Lucian. I like the logic. I think this should be a pick for out of lane. I think they recognize that they need non-committal engage with this Pantheon, with the Aurora and the Azir. So they're going to pick the Leona, who I do think after the nerfs is one of the strongest engaged supports left up. It was left untouched on 25-15. So I like it, but you are sacking some of that Enchanter priority Lucian lane sort of stuff you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Lucian Leona is like a poor man's Lucian Braum, right? Like it does have that passive for Leona. If she lands the Zenith Blade, you can proc that, I think it's Daylight or Sunlight, where it does the extra magic damage, and you can keep doing that over and over. It's kind of like the Braum passive with the Winter's Bite, not so much with the extra damage, like in the stun and everything, but I get what they're trying to do. Like I said, or like you said, I do think they are losing some of that like 2v2 lane potential here, but Solar Flare is on like a 60-second cooldown. So I think we're okay. We can just throw it in. If it lands, the culling comes on top. You're going to be sitting there for at least a second and a half, just eating the Shiatsu that Lucian's going to be throwing at you. And the whole time, Azir Sand Soldier is going to be coming at you. It's going to be really tough. And I think the range advantage that Apex Mission Impossible has, I love that you brought up Azir and Retrosing, kind of just being like, well, what do you do if I just wall you guys off and I have 3 soldiers ready and prepped to go? Like, you can't really reach me, unfortunately, but you still have that skirmish power with the Pantheon, the Aurora, and the Lucian, that if Corki steps up a little too far, or Nidalee is caught out, right, because she's going for like a really crazy spear, they're going to be able to hit you very, very quickly with the 1-2-3 punch, and you might be bursted out before you can even do anything. So I really like AMI's composition. Prosperity, it's really going to hinge on what this Icelandic hero guy can do, right? I say guy as if I don't know him, but he's on 110 ping with Nidalee. Like, this is... You essentially have the Rock Lee training weights on, and you can't take them off. You can't just take a flight to NA in a couple hours, you know? This is how you're gonna have to play. It's playing a champion in like quicksand or molasses.
Yeah, and there so much of the early game is going to hinge on him. Much like we do have a pause in the game, so we got some more time. I can't believe I'm saying this, kind of happy we have a pause, because we do get to talk about the composition of these teams and where their success lies. Prosperity is a fun conversation because Icelandic, even in last ACL split, has been very vocal about his leadership role, how he wants to adopt that for this team. He's just, sort of invigorated by being that leader for this squad of younger guys that he can put up on this pedestal and let them bring home. So the fact that he picks the Nidalee, he wants to dictate the early game tempo like a leader in the jungle should, is very good. But yeah, I think Prosperity setup is so key. They need to be able to get early neutral so they can fight on win cons like Dragon, like Rift Heralds, like Barons, because their team fight's nasty. Scion, Yone, Rel, Corki, nasty amount of damage, but I fear that AMI may be able to just spread them out across the map and use Pantheon's global threat to just neutralize this composition. Shibby, there's only one way to really figure all that out, as much as we talk about predicting drafts and how they execute. Let's see them execute, as I've gotten the word that we are good to go on to Summer's Rift here. Game 1, Prosperity taking on AMI for a spot between our seed B and C pools.
Yeah, a little bit of trash talk already happening here. I do like how you said Icelandic heroes like piloting some of the younger members here and being the captain. Lycomaw's been in the game for a while, right?
True.
This guy has also been one game away from promoting multiple times here. So there's a lot of veteran experience on both of these teams, right? Protoss has been a guy that's been competing for a very long time here. And I'm excited. I think the one matchup we didn't really touch upon, because it is kind of boring, but we can kind of look at it holistically throughout the series, is going to be Arya versus Decoy, because I think Decoy was one of the better parts of that AMI roster when they competed in NACL. I think he looked like a very good top laner. Arya as well, coming up on the rise here. here, and I want to see how they're going to match up later into the series. This matchup specifically, not too exciting. It's very, very like resident sleeper Aurora into Scion. I think we've seen it thousands of times by now. So I'm much more focused on this mid jungle 2v2, specifically the Yone and the Nidalee, seeing what they can get done against Retrozing. Because, like you said, if he's allowed to just farm, if he doesn't really get pressured, and Low Jazz is able to just kind of impact the map on the bottom side with his, Grand Skyfalls, yeah, this Azir is just going to be a problem. And I don't really know what, Prosperity is going to do to deal with it.
It's so much pressure on Icelandic because as we see the minions come on in, while we do feel like Yone and Azir can be kind of coin flippy with, if Lycamaz can find the right all-in scenarios, Nidalee really thrives on pushing lanes to open her up on the map for skirmishes, for invades. You're just not going to get that early on. Definitely not top side, definitely not mid lane, but maybe bot lane. As we do see Inflame look for some aggressive trades with Kongji, and they are able to force them off of the wave to get level 2 first. So Protoss and Baz are going to have to back off, and look at Inflame going immediately in for the double stun. Dash forward from Kongji, and Protoss immediately having to expend that flash. So there's one priority lane for Icelandic Heroes Nidalee.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about, right? This Lucian Leona kind of losing that 2v2 and not having as much presence as Corki and Rel because of how much CC there is and the burst damage coming out from Corki as well. We talked about him being like a mid-range AD carry. If he lands that Phosphorus bomb, gets the Gatling gun going, unfortunately, you just can't trade against it. It's absolutely frustrating. And if you're CC'd up the whole time, yeah, it could be rough here. So I like you said, Kongzi having that confidence, believing regardless of who he's facing off against him, that he is a better player or that he's going to outplay you and having the confidence to pick the Corki matchup into the Lucian. I'm really, really liking how Prosperity's angling these early lanes right now. But if you look at top and mid, they are struggling a little bit.
Yeah, they're at least for Lycamaz, he's doing the classic mid laner fiasco as the melee and trading his HP bar to keep up in CS. So he hasn't actually dropped any CS on his half. Arya has, and that is to be expected as we do see his Xenoblade come across onto Protoss. Does connect onto Kongji. Baz going to dash forward to push a bit more damage out. Yeah. I'm now realizing that Baz is actually... Oh, okay. Arya's maybe dead, but I want to talk about this. Conqueror Lucian.
Yeah.
That's like... I would think there are 2 keystones I would take on Lucian right now ahead of Conqueror.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely take PTA over it, but maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe this is going to be like a beefier Lucian. Like, I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you here, but it is an interesting keystone to choose here, the Rune. I want to see what his build is going to be. If he's going to go for like a Black Cleaver kind of style where he's a little bit more beefier. He has the ability to shred something like a Scion. But yeah, I would have definitely taken like PTA over this, 1,000%. Well, what other Rune? You're the AD carry main player. What other Rune? Electrocute?
Some people run Ignite Electrocute Lucian to kind of just slam lane. That is a little bit more of a maybe a tier 1. I do see that mostly in the LPL. So
yeah,
that's the other one I've seen. Conqueror, yeah, maybe just trying to play on extended trades, right? You are going to get a ton more autos down into a lower range comp. Like, this is a pretty safe Lucian comp to deal with. I don't hate it. I can see the angle from Baz. He's like, all right, I'm going to get like 4 double shot procs onto the Scion, and that's going to immediately stack my Conqueror. So I don't hate it, but yeah, it's cool to see the innovation coming through here in the ACL.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what he's going to end up doing and what his build is. Because if he's just going to build like a standard Lucian build where it's like Essence Reaver, Navori, like ID and stuff like that, then I'll be a little bit more interested. But I'm not seeing any like real data on Conqueror Lucian. So this guy, Baz innovating in ACL at the moment.
That's the great part. Innovations coming to these lane assignments. We didn't get to talk about it, but this is exactly what you have to do if you're the Scion comp. Get Arya out of the Aurora matchup. Get the Aurora in a 2 versus 1. And Scion is the best champion to be 2 versus 1 in. But AMI, they're making their own little chess move, knowing they have all the priority on the bot side now with the Scion moved over. They're going to grab that first Drake behind Low Jazz.
Yeah, that's unfortunately just kind of, you have to give that up, especially if AMI and other teams like that are on point with the Dragon take. You can't trade, grubs for Dragon anymore. That doesn't exist, right? You can't trade any of those objectives. So there is a real possibility where AMI starts snowballing some of these new 2 objectives, right? Takes the Dragon, then opts in for the grub fight, which they do, in my opinion, have the better skirmish, especially if, you know, somebody like Proto, somebody like Baz can hit that level 6 prior to the grub spawning. There's a real world, even someone like LoJazz who can Grand Skyfall in, there's a real world where, you know, AMI decide to take every single objective on the map for the next 14 minutes. There's nothing really Prosperity can do.
Flame, though, he had the inside track. Baz with a good flash, though, into the stun from Protoss, but I fear Protoss is going to have to sacrifice himself with 4 members showing up top. There's the unstoppable onslaught. Arya is going to slow up Baz, who is flashless. Good dash away from Decimating Smash with a flat forward. Icelandic on 110 ping, going to get the first 2 kills for Prosperity.
And that was a crazy play from Prosperity to bring 4 up top. The Scion ultimate, so he recalled Scion ultimate up top side to guarantee the double kill, and then immediately TPs down bot lane into the 1v1. That is a selfless Scion if I've ever seen it, because he's willingly going back into the Aurora Scion matchup, but recognize that, hey, I'm playing Scion. It doesn't really matter. Let me just pick up as many resources as possible. Let me get my team as far ahead as possible. And Icelandic Hero picking up 2 of those kills on the Nidalee. I said he's on 110 ping. Those spears still hurt if he's got a whole legendary item on your head.
Most snowbally champion too, maybe besides the Yone on this comp to get going. The leader for Prosperity just in prime position. And Lycamaz, I know he's always been low HP here, but that's not what really matters, okay? Lycamaz is going to come out of the first couple rotations, even in CS with Retrozing's Azir. That's a huge win. Now Retrozing gets caught trying to recall right in the middle of mid lane. Doesn't have to flash, he's able to dash back, but that is going to kind of desync his recall timer as Kongji and Inflame are just all over the map early.
Yeah, it feels like Protoss and Baz are just playing catch-up right now. They're just moving everywhere. I do like that, you know, Prosperity's moved their bottom lane into the mid lane here. Grubs is coming up. It gives them the ability to move across the map, whether they want to shift down to bottom lane or they want to shift up to top side for their lane assignments. I actually really like this early kind of mid 2v2, and they're forcing Lucian and Leona into this lane, which I don't even think they like being in mid lane right now. I don't think, you know, I don't think Pantheon can really do much, right? Because if this, you know, bot lane was actually put into the bottom side, there's a world where LoJazz can kind of Grand Skyfall in behind them. But if you're in mid lane, that lane's a lot shorter. You don't really have that many opportunities to do anything. And so far, LoJazz hasn't really done much, right? He's 0-0-0 on the map. He's taken a dragon, and that's about it.
We need to see more from this Pantheon as early as possible, like you call that, with that ultimate up. So that's the strength for AMI, is that they should have some pretty pristine side laning with the threat of a 2v1 coming down whenever. Despite the fact 2 kills do go over towards Prosperity, it's still AMI that can play for their win con, but those neutral objectives you felt like they're going to be able to dominate early now. Icelandic has taken all 3 grubs. There's no real answer here. AMI kind of looked to collapse. They brought down Retrozing, but he's not able to get there in time, and Prosperity are able to stall out a big win con like we talked about, because they're all about the team fight once this game gets later on.
Yeah, that top lane play kind of blew open whatever rhythm AMI were hoping to get. I think there was a world where, yeah, they could go the dragon into the grubs, but that 4-man top into the double kill kind of puts Nidalee so far ahead, and you don't want to be, you know, eating spears while you're trying to contest this grubs, because, you know, a couple spears in the back of your head and you might be dead in a couple seconds. So it is really rough for AMI to try to play that skirmishing game when Icelandic is now going to probably pick up a legendary item here. I think he's obviously working towards that Leandries. He is so far ahead of the rest of the pack here, and that's really where that 1,000 gold lead is.
Yep, all leaning on this Nidalee, who does grab the Leandries, and starting to see a bit more of what the lane assignments are going to look like for this mid game. I do like Lycamaz kind of trying to go into this Aurora. It's a little bit safer than the Azir. Has a little less range, and there's a little more skill expression that Lycamaz can go towards, as he always uses that soul form to get some good damage trades in, so Decoy can't actually get a good push on that bot side. Retrozing, obviously Arya, it's just going to be hard to play this Scion, but by this point, you're, you know, nearing first item. You have a lot of your passive up, so you should be safe in a 1v1, but this is a 1v2. Great
nice
flash from LoJazz to stop the unstoppable onslaught. Arya, though, does have flash as well, but the flash forward to Retrozing makes sure that the Scion cannot flash over that wall and will go down. They're trying to give the kill over to Retrozing, knowing that Apex Mission Impossible need this Azir to be the main win con, and they're finally on the board.
That's a deliberate play of dropping this upcoming dragon, right? When LoJazz ulted that top side, it was 30 seconds up until this dragon, so it is going to be Prosperities here. Decoy has to play safe. I think he needs his Leona here pretty soon, or he's going to get dove, and I don't know if Protoss is going to make it in time. We'll see if Kongzi, or sorry, not Kongzi. We'll see if Icelandic and the rest of the crew can actually get this dive
There's
off.
Inflame. Yep. Between Worlds going to be used to try and clear out the wave, and Protoss does show up just in time. The mere presence of the Leona going to completely wreck that dive for Prosperity.
Yeah, and now I don't know if they have the ability to make another play here. Prosperity decided instead of taking the Dragon that they're going to actually look to dive Decoy here. There may be a world where they move the Lucian down, but it looks like Dragon is still going to be taken by Prosperity. Decoy doesn't have the ultimate available, isn't confident enough to take this fight, especially with 3 members. So yeah, Prosperity, make that double play. That's really good awareness from them to find that hey, we have the timing, we can go for a dive and then the Dragon, because Lojaz doesn't have Grand Skyfall. He doesn't have the ability to get here instantly, so it's still going to be a numbers advantage for them. Really well played from Prosperity. Even though the kill went over to Retrozing, I feel like Prosperity got the better deal out of it.
Because in the long haul, if they can play for those MiG neutrals, they'll be in a good spot. But Lycamaz can get flashed on by Protoss into the immediate double stun chain, making a triple stun. Lycamaz was stunned up for about 5 seconds total between Lojaz and Protoss as they pick up a second kill to equalize the number.
As soon as I say Prosperity got the better end of that deal, Lycamaz is like, no, Shivy. We didn't actually. He gets absolutely... Yeah, he gets stunned and gunned by Lojaz and Protoss there. Really good play from them to recognize that he's a little bit overextended, and they caught him out in that bush. But right now, gold pretty much even between both of these teams, and I think that works well in AMI's favor because, Azir, such a late game scaling beast at the moment. Eventually, he's going to hit that point around 25, 30 minutes into the game where you're not going to be able to do too much about him. He's going to hit 3-4 items. He's going to be shredding your health bars. Granted, they do have a hyper scaling tank in the form of Arya, so I'm interested to see how AMI are going to deal with that. Like I said, I don't think Lucian has the best capabilities, especially it looks like he's just going to go that standard Lucian build with the Essence Reaver into Navori. I thought he was going to go something kind of cheesy with the Black Cleaver because he has that Conqueror, but like you said, it might just be for those extended lane trades, so he gets a little bit more healing and a little bit more true damage on. But Decoy doing a really good job, I would argue, taking the short end of the stick on most of these lane assignments.
It's so fun watching this guy in his positioning confidently. He's staring down 2v1. Oh, now I know why. It's because the Scion is running down mid lane again to go after Baz. But this time, Protoss and Baz are able to back up comfortably towards their turret as Lycamaz is finding more and more better trades into Decoy. He still has the ultimate. It's the Between Worlds flash forward from Decoy as he just spins it 180 style. Doesn't even need any help. Gets the 1v1 solo bolo. And that's huge because he was getting collapsed on 3v1. Decoy was going to die. Instead, now he trades his life as Arya is going to eat a full-blown culling here with the ton layering from Lojaz. Not going to be enough there, but our kills are still dead even. Our gold just as close, Shibby, cresting the 15-minute mark.
And, Prosperity made that choice to put Scion in that mid lane to get a potential pick here. And that's going to give Retrozing a ton of gold here. He picked up 3 plates for himself along with all the minions. I mean, this guy is just being fed, minions, turret plates. He even got a kill for himself. It is looking a little bit dire for Prosperity as Baz does eat a rocket in the mid lane. But with gold dead even, again, I think it works in AMI's favor. Prosperity have been the more proactive team, but I really like how AMI has been kind of handling whatever's been thrown at them. Really well played from Decoy there, like you said. Saw the 1v3 saying, hey, I'm going to get Dobe. Let me see if I can just make this a 1-for-1 and just dumpstered Lycamaz.
I do like this. Oh, hold on. We got more junglers. It's actually Lojaz going after Lycamaz again, who will be caught in the side lane here. Arya should not be able to save the Yone. Will go down to Retrozing, who now goes 2-0. And they might look for more here with Baz coming over from the jungle. Arya does not have the unstoppable onslaught, does have the flash available, but where you can go, there's a 4v1 staring down your tank Scion, and he's not taking enough to survive it now. Icelandic has shown up late. That's a really big solar flare to the double stun. Protoss is going to go down. Great setup there from Inflame. Flash away for Lojaz. He's going to re-engage right on top of Inflame. Gets a big heal as well from this Divine Sunderer, but it's Inflame that's going to pick up the kill, and Baz just can't get close enough to trade him back.
Oh, I like the look from Lojaz there to W back in, get the stun here. But yeah, Baz just does not have the damage, and
Baz, come on. It's 110 ping. Oh, the flash into the Azir turret. Flashback for Baz. Icelandic just got ping diffed, and Retrozing's turret is going to give him a killing spree blow on the Azir.
If you're 30 ping there, you make that play. Not an 110 though. I don't I get you landed the spear, but I don't know if you can confirm that kill. Really well played from Baz as well to flash away so that Nidalee couldn't get into the Cougar jump distance, right? Because once you hit that spear, you have that little radius where you can just instantly jump over, and that would have been a kill. So very, very well played from Baz, not being greedy with his summoners and essentially getting his Azir another kill. And like you said, putting him on a killing spree, going 3-0. Lycamaz, brother, you've been caught out in the side lane 3 separate times. Are you really wanting to make it a 4th?
Oh, no. But, hey, this is what we talked about for AMI, right, is where we felt like they were strong, really stronger from a draft compositional point. Even if Decoy is matched up against Lycamaz, who was trading well with him, it's really hard to knock down the Aurora, and you have the range advantage for Retrozing. You're seeing AMI just kind of hover towards his side of the map constantly, now with the shutdown especially. Side lane control is just going to be AMI's really for the rest of this game. It's going to be impossible for Prosperity to really get an advantage of pushing lanes on either top or bot.
Yeah, they're going to use that to pick up this Rift Herald here. Dragon up on the board as well. I don't mind this trade. I mean, you already got your 1 dragon if you're AMI. You've delayed the quote-unquote dragon win condition that is going to be Chemtech Soul for these guys, right? It's going to be at least minimum another 10 minutes here, so around the 27 to 28 minute mark before they actually have to contest on that 4th dragon against Prosperity. And by that time, we talked about this Azir and how strong he's going to be. He's already been accelerated, right? He's a 3-0, has the Nashors, working towards his 2nd item. By 27 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if he's at 3.5, if not 4 items here. And right now, AMI are slowly but surely tightening their grip around this game here. Mid lane tier 1 goes down. Top lane and bottom lane tier 1s have fallen as well. The map is getting oh so smaller for Prosperity here, and their proactiveness, although I liked it, they might have done too many subsequent plays, right? They didn't really take a time to breathe. Lycamaz got caught out, kind of messed up with their rhythm, and I think AMI did a really good job of just kind of, you know, counteracting and counterpunching. Really good outplays from Decoy as well.
The thing to remember about AMI in this iteration was coming into the ACL split, it was not low jazz in the jungle, and it felt like they looked a lot more sluggish in their decision-making. Now with low jazz in, you can really just see like the AMI, and Chibi's gonna love this because it's a low jazz place, but you can see AMI's decision-making is so much more pristine. It's back to what we saw them bring in that qualifier run, and at points in the NACL as well, when they were able to take, you know, a couple of series were competitive in a lot of single games. It's just they are much more smarter and much more succinct as a squad on the map. It's cool to see the Retrozing and Protoss have adopted that style, but it's low jazz coming back in that has really made AMI, in my opinion, much more formidable and what I feel to be the favorite to come out of this Noxus GSL bracket in that CB position.
I mean, AMI competed in the harder format. You know, hot take, if they're competing in this split's NACL, like, they might actually make playoffs. Like, it's best of ones are so silly, man. But yeah, I do like how you, yeah, yeah, I do kind of like how you mentioned that low jazz is kind of like the, you know, like a battery, right? Like he's an energizer, but he kind of slot him into this team, and you already see kind of the sharpness, the crispiness of their engages kind of, you know, come into fruition here. And obviously putting in a player like Low Jazz who's worked with Decoy, who's worked with Baz, right? They're already familiar with how he likes to play, so getting him acclimated is not going to take that long. So I definitely love that from you, and talking about his decision making and his willingness to just kind of pull the trigger when sometimes junglers can be a little bit apprehensive. But we do have 2.5 minutes until this dragon's coming up. Those are 30 seconds before this Otacon, and that's going to spawn in that bottom side. And right now, Retrozing 2 items, the Nashors and the Rileys, so far ahead of everybody else. If they can get their positioning onto this Otacon well before Prosperity gets there, the Sand Soldiers start getting set up. I don't know if Prosperity has the ability to walk in without taking a ton of damage here, but instead they're going to look at play on the mid.
They're trying to fight without Retrozing, who immediately does TP into this mid lane. The culling down on Inflame. The stun still lands despite the flash, but there's a double knockup from Lycamaz into the Arya. Unstoppable onslaught slam. 2 kills immediately picked up here for Prosperity, but they're a little bit scattered. Lycamaz is going to use that seal fake, but does not get out. It's going to have to be Arya holding the front line, but Retrozing is untouched. Full HP. Kongji cannot trade into Decoy. The barrier's not going to save him. They do lose Baz, but Kongji's kiting back perfectly. Retrozing using the Emperor's Divide to get Icelandic into the stasis, but Arya's right on top of him, slamming him down. Retrozing will trade out Kongji, but it's not enough. It's 110 big Icelandic. No, he can't find Decoy. A mess of a fight that leaves only our top laner standing.
A disgusting, disgusting fight from both teams here, but really, really good CC stacking coming from Prosperity as Decoy and Arya still slugging it out. Maybe they're not done, trying to delay their backs, trying to desync each other so that when they fight for this Otacon, which we're going to be seeing a fight pretty soon, Slayer. Looks like both these teams haven't given up on that prospect. Yeah, Prosperity, I think, actually played that fight as well as they could, given the fact that Retrozing TP'd in, has a massive lead. Baz already ended up picking up a kill onto Lycamos. Like, Icelandic and Kongzi played that fight as well as you could expect, kiting back the heals that came in from this full AP Nidalee, allowing him to bait even longer, and Kongzi willing to stick into the pocket to get as much damage as possible. That's what you want out of your AD carry, right? You want somebody that is going to try to get the maximum damage output regardless of his life, and that's what I think really got them that 4-for-4 trade, when it probably should have been a little bit more AMI favored, right? A 4-for-3 or something
100%.
like that.
Yeah, and, you know, as we are all on the Salt Mine Twitch channel, obviously I have to plug the podcast. And when we talked about the ACL at the start of the season, you know, I definitely had my reservations about this Prosperity lineup and in my seeding. And Kongji made it a point to call me out. And I will say, this is my favorite part about being an irrelevant caster for Tier 2 League of Legends, is that when I get proven wrong. And right now, Kongji and Prosperity, you know, getting this B slot out of GSL would definitely shut me up, and the way he's playing in that last fight definitely showed it. Unfortunately, looks like we're going to run into a little bit of a pause at a pretty critical moment, Shippy, as AMI are pulling the trigger on an Otacon start, and I do not believe Prosperity have really figured that out just yet.
I mean, I think dropping that Rift Herald kind of indicates, like, hey, we're going to drop it mid. You either answer it or you lose your mid tier 2. I think they can just kind of like see that they cheated away towards the Otacon. Now, the real question is if Prosperity is going to be there in time to actually contest it. That's the question, because 3 people went to answer that Rift Herald. I don't know if they're going to have enough movement. They don't have something like a Grand Skyfall. They don't have a TP onto Lycamos. We're going to get that pause here, and we're back. And
it's
yeah,
gone.
You know what? I'm right. It's gone. It's disappeared, actually. The Otacon's at 1100 HP, guys.
Yeah, it's about to get smitten or smited. I don't
Smoted?
know, whatever. Smoted. There we go. There's the smote. There it comes through for Lojaz. He picks that one up. Keep in mind though, on the top side here, Lycamos, Prosperity has 3 grubs, and Lycamos, nobody's up there to answer him. So it's never fun trading Otacon. I think it is super valuable in XP games, but if you are able to trade a tier 2 turret for
and
it,
the dragon.
That's good, but yep, the dragon also going over. So we talked about it. The Lojaz decisiveness is coming through as he's able to pick up 2 pretty critical neutrals for the AMI side.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, lost grubs. Now they've gotten Otacon plus dragon here. Baz has Leona in his back pocket.
Okay, I thought they were going to dive in with the Leona there, but they're not. They're going to knock down the mid-tier 1 turret. Inside track, though, does go to Retrozing. He is able to eat a spear with a good stun there for Inflame. Decoy, though, going to drop them between worlds. They're going to push away the Corki and just get rid of Inflame. Big engage tool off the board here for Prosperity. And now they're just going to have to surrender a lot of tempo, losing out on their rel.
I mean, that's also your wards, right? You're going to lose out on a lot of vision, the ability to sweep, all that kind of stuff. So there's a big opportunity a minute and a half prior to this Baron.
Oh, good stasis from Retrozing. Doesn't take any of that unsealed fate damage. But that's going to be the Seeker's Arm Guard down for now. A really good sort of buffering tool for Retrozing. He's going to have to wait to get that Zanya's, but he might not even get this back off. Lycamos is going to immediately dash on him, backing in the bush. Not going to be able to chase him down. Grand Star from back, and he barely survives as Lojaz threw himself right on top of Lycamos, but this is a 1v2. He knew Icelandic was here. Can Lojaz kite around these spears to get back to safety? There's an Azir turn up. Good stun layered with the Sand Soldiers. Retrozing dash back in, though, and he doesn't die to the Leomdries from Icelandic. How the hell does nobody die there between our mid-jungles?
Oh, man. I mean, Lojaz flying in like an angel, trying to save his mid laner, actually doesn't go down. You guys are greedy.
Why are we backing in brushes? What is what is going on with these?
Like
they both should die.
Yeah, in game. They both should have died in game.
In
Minecraft.
In Minecraft. Wrong game, Jimmy.
Yeah, my bad, my bad. But I was gonna say, prior to the silliness that happened on that bottom side, that losing Inflame there would have allowed AMI to start setting up that vision onto that top side with the Baron. And if you peep over there, they've got 2 control wards already placed down. They've already denied a lot of that initial vision as we peep over that Baron. So now AMI have the choice. They can just walk in here and catch out somebody like Arya.
Oh, but I don't think they realize Icelandic and Inflame are here. Retrosync goes into the stasis. Icelandic's gonna jump onto him with the Magnet Storm as well, but there's no damage dealers left up here to try and back Prosperity. Kongji and Lycomos, they show up. Tempered Fate is gonna land onto 2. It grabs both the backliners. As you see, the flash out from Moja, Decoy on the back end as well as Bass dashes right into Kongji's face, dashes back out and lets Decoy do all the damage, but he doesn't have enough. Kongji slips on out. Decoy flashes away for the first Q. Lycomos, though, has more than enough damage to chase Decoy down, and he will fall. Once again, Kongji survives in the most tempered moments of a fight.
Man, Lycomos coming alive right now. Bork plus shield bow here. He's a relatively tanky individual, right? Got a lot of lifesteal, gets the shield going. He's really annoying to deal with on top of the Scion, who, by the way, was caught out, and I think he left the fight with half health. Slayer, like the damage that went into him didn't really feel like it was doing too much, right? And that was that hyper scaling tank that we talked about. What's going to be much more of a problem? Is it going to be the Azir on AMI's side, or is it going to be the Scion on Prosperity side, who is now 2 items, potentially 2.5 here, who's backing right now? Yeah, really, really odd kind of all-in from AMI to go onto the Scion, especially because some of the members of Prosperity were already lurking around that top side. And because of that fight, all that vision that AMI placed after getting that pick onto Inflame has been completely taken out here, and Prosperity has taken back their jungle here. Although AMI still has kind of the initiation or the I would say the plus on the warding here for Baron. I still think, you know, if you're Prosperity, you can just walk in with Scion and Rel and just clear out this vision, which is actually what Inflame is doing right now.
Really feels like the build path for Arya is so pivotal into those 2 AP solo lanes, like you called out. Right now, is able to survive and all that engaged. So AMI, hopefully they can learn from that last fight that we can't afford to throw a bunch of ultimates at the Scion, as Retrosync is able to dash away from Magnet Storm. And Lycomos is caught on the other side of the map as well. Decoy nearly traded back out. Lycomos gets a huge shield. One more Q would have done it. But Decoy is able to find the kill, so Lycomos caught once again at a pretty critical moment with Baron looming.
I don't know if that's actually going to allow AMI to get Baron. Sorry, I don't know. Actually, it's not going to allow AMI to get Baron because, unfortunately, Decoy is just too low in health. And again, we talked about Prosperity, just being able to walk in with Leona and Scion and just clear out any sort of vision because there's no actual threat onto the Scion. Unfortunately, even if you CC him up for 20 years, I don't think he's going to die here. So you've got to find an angle onto this bot lane. And although, you know, Inflame doesn't have that Magnet Storm available, you can just kind of chuck that out. Retrosync did a really good job reacting to it, getting out. But that kill on the Lycomos, it doesn't really do a whole lot for AMI there. It is going to give them that first initiative onto that dragon. And instead, Inflame
again. This is what they did last time to try to set up, but this time the crash shout from Inflame is going to get him out of the way. Decimating Smash only going to land on the low jazz, but Arya is very, very tanky. They can't prioritize the Scion. You're going to let Kongji's churn and burn with this Phosphorus Bomb. Despite that, he does burn the Unstoppable Onslaught and gets chunked to below 40% HP. So maybe Retrosync with that lethal tempo is starting to be enough of a difference in the scale battle, and it's going to reward Apex Mission Impossible with what I would believe to be Soul Point. That Spear, just a bit of a Hail Mary there from Icelandic. Kemptech Soul Point down for AMI.
Yeah, you've also got a ton of Magic Pen on the side. Like Decoy has opted in for like Leandries into the Overlord, and it's just like disgusting, right? The amount of Magic Pen that you get, and this is a really crazy call. Lycomos and Kongzi are just going to start this Baron. It's going to work. They have so much damage. I know AMI suspect something, but they don't expect Baron to be at 3,000 health. Slayer is gone in the blink of an eye. What?
What a call from Prosperity. What a start to this series. Completely back and forth. Both teams able to grab a key win con in the last minute. But right now, it's Prosperity with the purple banner on 5. They get a huge gold injection, and you can see it starting to come through on some of these items. Lycamaz on the Yone has the IE done. You have a Moramana RFC built up Corki, and the Scion gets the Thor mail down for Baz. So the team fight comp, like we talked about for Prosperity, in prime position also, Shibby, to really shut down the side lane threat. Now they can just push all those waves out much more freely before the next Dragon comes online.
Yeah, that was a really, really sneaky Baron coming out from Prosperity there. They do it without their jungler, and the fact that they just kind of took advantage of the timer that came in, right? I'm very, very impressed by Prosperity's ability to recognize when AMI is on bad timers or they're desynced, and they can just kind of make plays around that, right? Or do the unexpected, right? We talk about it in that early game play where they sent Scion top with that ultimate, got the double kill for Icelandic, and then he immediately TP'd bot. Like those kind of like weird off-tempo plays or taking advantage of bad timings is really what's going to keep Prosperity in this game right now, because that's just got them that Baron, which has not only put them in the gold lead, but has put them in a pretty good position to potentially start sieging these tier 3s.
Exactly what they're going to try and do there to get rid of that first Azir turret, and they're going to turn their attention towards this bot tier 2 that AMI are decently set up to try and cover, but these three don't have a lot of wave clear that really helps them out, and Lycamaz doing a good job using that Soul Unbound form to just poke and prod and try and protect this cannon minion who Kongji is dishing the damage out to hold in place. Protoss is going to get stunned up there, and that is going to be the calling out from Baz. Doesn't really do a lot, and with all this attention towards the bot side, Arya's going to sneak through and knock down the mid-tier 2 turret. So Prosperity actually come out with the much more valuable tier 2 knockdown, and hey, on the back end of it, they're going to get the original one they came for.
Yeah, they're picking up a ton of gold on the map right now. And AMI probably feels like they can still fight here, but they don't actually see, obviously, that 4,000 gold lead that is in Prosperity's pocket. Again, this is here. Around 30 minutes is now around, I believe, 4 items, if not really close to that 4-item mark here. And Decoy as well has hit 3 items. Like, we're in the late game stage of League of Legends here, and Scion specifically on that 4M, like you mentioned, the Thornmail, you know, even if you do have the Black Cleaver on low Jazz, even if you have the armor shred and stuff like that, it's going to be difficult to actually chew through the hyper tank that he is, and it just buys Icelandic and Kongzi more time, more space, just chuck spears, get autos in, and the fact that Icelandic also went full AP, the healing that he's going to provide to either his AD carry or his tank just makes him that much more beefier. So it's really interesting to see how this next team fight is going to go around what is going to be this Dragon that's coming up in a minute and a half with, you know, AMI pushed into their base right now. It feels kind of tough for them.
So funny that we've gone to a late game scenario with 2 junglers that I think are so driven by their impact early. And I'm glad you pointed out how the healing is going to play in big for Icelandic, because post 35 minutes, especially if you're AMI who are now dealing with getting pushed in, Pantheon value is a lot lower, and Italy value is a ton lower by this point, which is very funny knowing how much tempo dictating was done by these 2 junglers in this game state. Glad you pointed out Arya as well. Jack Show done is such a perfect buy, knowing that he went so magic resist early, and now he just gets to capitalize on more of that while also getting armor. Arya is not going to die anytime soon, and AMI need to make it a point to now try and set Retrozing up to maybe go for these flank plays to get towards these carries, as Protoss is backed off of his bot side jungle. Spear hits onto Retrozing, takes about 40% of his HP. Arya's going to hit the go button. A double onslaught does land onto low Jazz, but only Kongji's here, and he can't really get that close with the threat of a stun landing. Good dash back with the Valkyrie. Arya very, very low. Low Jazz going to re-engage with another stun, but Arya's shield is just so potent. He's able to stand up tall. It's in flame, or excuse me, it's actually Lycamaz that just goes in and executes Protoss with that Soul Unbound form. Main engage tools dropping right now for AMI, and that means they have to surrender even more control of the mid lane as they backpedal towards their base.
Aurora still has Between Two Worlds here. They might still look for a play. Retrozing needs his Sand Soldiers up. He also has the Emperor's Divide. So a lot of resources thrown into what is essentially just a 1-for-0. Dragon is up. I do think AMI are not going to be able to contest this. A lot of those resources that we talked about for Prosperity. Arya has his ultimate backup. Lycamaz is halfway through, and they still, I believe, have the Magnet Storm here. So if they walk into Inflame here, it could be rough. AMI just could not deal with Arya, unfortunately. The guy is just too tanky.
And that's going to get them onto their own Chemtech Soul Point.
Oh, man.
35 minutes in, our next Dragon will give over that huge win con, and before we even get there, we have our second Baron of the game coming down, and this time, nobody's going to be able to sneak it out from under the nose of the opposing team.
Yeah, Protoss is definitely going to be on that, right, with the wards and making sure that they can't sneak it even faster, right? Because Lycabaz and Kongzi have gotten much stronger since that point. Also, I don't even want to think about how much of a nightmare it would be for AMI to deal with a Chemtech Soul Scion, right? How much harder he would be to kill under that 50% threshold. And mind you, at 50%, his health is probably still like 4,000 or 5,000, right? He's probably going towards like 8,000, 9,000 health right now. You know what? I lied, actually. That looks like 6,000?
Yeah, it's about to be 6,000.
Yeah.
He's got a giant spell, so maybe this
Warmogs?
last item could be Warmogs. Yeah, and that'll still be pretty prevalent. But right now, it's like Amaz on this Yone, making a real problem for AMI to deal with. Gets a wave all the way up onto a tier 3 turret. He's slapping this tier 3 turret, and it's only Protoss here to cover. Baz is trying to flank, but this has me worried. If you kill off Baz here, you can just win this trade. Unfortunately, Lycabaz does use the Unsealed Fate to get out from distance. Snapback's gonna have to come through. Baz gonna trade out some damage, and Lycabaz is gonna end up falling, but boy, again, does it get close. Re-engage on the top side, though. Here's the Prosperity answer. Retrosing hits a huge Emperor's Divide, goes into the stasis. He's able to trade out Kongji, and now a lot of the damage dealers are out of this fight. You have to watch Decoy going forward here as Lojaz chases down Slay. The flash forward from Decoy secures the first kill, and now those tanky members of Prosperity don't have any juice left in the gas tank to try and fight. All they can do is run back towards their base, and that means that Lojaz and the rest of Apex Mission Impossible should be able to claim the second Baron of our game.
Yeah, really good collapse coming out from AMI there. Risky, right, because you only have 3 members on Baron, but Retrosing gets a massive Emperor's Divide, like you mentioned, gets enough damage down, and the rest falls into place. And that's one way to play around a hyper tank composition of Arya and Inflame there. Just kill the DPS. Like, what are they going to do? They're just going to die slower. That's about it. Unfortunately, like you said, no juice left in the tank. That second Baron going over to AMI. Dragon coming up in about 2.5 minutes. So they can perfectly push these waves in, siege some of these tier 3 turrets and potentially these tier 2s, and then work their way towards that Dragon. As by the time Baron is up, Dragon will have spawned here. The game is telling you how to play itself. AMI, all you have to do is just listen to its instructions.
And they're about to have a full build Azir from Retrosing. Gonna have the Zhonya's back up. Flash is gonna be off this Azir, so that is gonna be a problem, but once he gets that magic pen through, Arya is the only one that's going to be able to take a decent amount of damage. Even that will be a big pressure point, and it's so funny with how much of a roller coaster this game has been, Shibby, that we really land back on that same point from draft, that if you want to win a fight as AMI, it's putting Retrosing in the right spot. For Prosperity, it's getting on top of this Azir, because you can already see one spear forward from a Sand Soldier onto Kongji takes about nearly a quarter of his HP bar right now.
Yeah, and he's got very little MR, actually 0 right now. I think he is potentially building towards Shield Bow with that Vamp Scepter. I don't think he's going towards Bork or anything too crazy, so that'll give him a little bit more survivability. But he needs to get to that point, right? Because Retrosing right now is way ahead of him, and yeah, the guy's at a quarter HP. Like, you give this turret up, unfortunately. You don't have the damage anymore. Icelandic might be able to heal some of that back up onto Kongzi, but instead he's going to take the back. He's going to take the recall. Top lane, though, does need to be fixed. AMI, you need to send Decoy up there now so you can get that wave pushed in before Dragon spawns in a minute. They may have already missed their timer, because typically you want to start getting it pushed in around the 1.5-minute mark and then set up that Dragon.
Magnet Storm. Good flash from Lojaz. They're going to re-engage on a Protoss, who is not that tanky, but Leona has to flash out as well. The play forward from Lojaz gets him caught, but the between worlds over the wall from Decoy gets one trade, but he eats an Unsealed Fate from Lycabaz, who cannot commit onto any of these low health bars. Prosperity will take their one pick, but it's a critical one. We now have a Soul Point Drake coming up, Shibby, with neither jungler going to be alive for it.
Yeah, 30 seconds here, and I don't think Lojaz is going to have the Grand Skyfall available before he spawns, because there's a world where he just spawns and just full sends it onto that Dragon. If I'm AMI, I don't flip this. Right now, I have the man advantage here. It's a 4v3 at the moment. I take this time to fix my waves, get everything pushed in. Guys, you're still, top wave is still in a negative state. You get that pushing in, but instead, they're going to play for tempo.
And he's dead. And he's dead. That was one combo from Decoy to half HP, and the rest was the culling. That is Aurora at full build for you, and that means that AMI get Chemtech Soul Point. That's the finite margins we play with, Shippy. One kill means so much more in a 40-minute game.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lycama has had a penchant this game to get caught out at some pretty inopportune times, right? Bottom lane with that Baron, just now at this 40-minute mark with the Chemtech Soul. Like, it is a bit rough to have those mistakes so late in the game here and not even give Prosperity the opportunity to potentially contest this dragon. I talked about AMI needing to fix their top wave. Well, if they go for that play, they jick the dragon and they can go later. Like, it is kind of unfortunate for Prosperity here that Lycamaz just gets caught out 2 times in a row in really, really bad spots.
And now the desperation starts to creep in here for Prosperity. Lycamos is going to get back up here. Not going to be able to TP in. He's going to have to run his way down. Good to get the Scuttle Crab, though, from Icelandic to at least provide some untouchable vision towards Baron. But AMI are properly set up now with a full build Azir and Lucian to just be such a problem. And now they're going to look to pick off Icelandic, who loses his spell shield with the first bit of Grand Starfall. The stun lands. He's going to go into the stasis. Ari's going to try and protect this Nidalee. Big heal comes across, but Retrosing's on the back end, and Baz is over the wall. There's enemies on all sides for Icelandic to deal with, and all he can find is a gray screen along with his tank, who drop. The pick potential comp comes through at 41 minutes for AMI.
Really good Grand Skyfall, and we talked about the potential for Pantheon to just kind of land on your head in the late game and swing a team fight here. Really good look from Lojaz there and the rest of the team to follow up. Unfortunately, Icelandic Hero had nowhere to go there. He had to flash or get out of that initial stun rotation here. With Sion down, with Nidalee down, your front line doesn't really exist here, and I don't think Lycamaz and Kongzi are going to be able to save these 2 turrets.
Nope, and it's a flash Shuriman shuffle from Retrosing to sing it on home. Kongzi going to be the last one to drop. The AMI post 40-minute buff existed in the qualifiers, it existed in NACL, and it comes to fruition in the Aegis Champions League as they take a 1-0 lead in our series.
Yeah, it is just their comfort zone, right? Like, it is literally late game situations. AMI just kind of gets a buff here, and very well played from them. Even though they initially lost that first Baron due to a really sneaky play from Prosperity, AMI are just able to handle those late game situations
Welcome everyone back to the Salt Mine official Twitch channel as we continue to be the B stream for the Aegis Champions League Summer Split, which is looking to move into its second phase out of the initial GSL. And today we're going to be crowning one of our two teams into Group B and Group C for those pools. AMI currently ahead 1-0 in that category after a classic Apex Mission Impossible game where they get caught a couple times. But once they get past the 35-minute juncture, these guys are going to have like a 90% win rate, and they showed it here in the ACL.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You mentioned like the Group A, Group B pools. I would just call it like upper pools and lower pools, right?
Yes.
Okay, upper Swiss and lower Swiss. That's where you can kind of have like a better opportunity to potentially match up and go into playoffs. Obviously, you want to be in Group A and Group B. That's where you want to be. That's where like Citadel, all the NACL teams generally are. You did mention Komodo, a team that you guys thought would do really good. Unfortunately, kind of not measuring up to what we thought they would, and that's a whole other conversation. But that's kind of the fun of these tournaments, right? Not everything. If everything worked out the way the seeding committee thought, then it'd actually be really, really boring. So I'm glad that we have teams like this matching up here. And like we said, AMI 1-0 up on Prosperity after a 41 minute, I think it was 41 and a half minutes of gameplay here. 2 Barons, 7 dragons, taken by both teams, right? 4 for AMI. They're getting that Chemtech Soul Point, and we're gonna go into draft here. And mind you, if you don't already know, for whatever reason, if you've been sleeping under a rock, we are in Fearless Draft. Every single tournament, I think, in the world is Fearless at the moment. So those champions above Slayer's Head are not available for Game 2 and Game 3. And this is just a best of 3. So we're not going to get the usual shenanigans of like a best of 5 Fearless where we start getting down to like some of the worst picks for these guys where they're like, this is my 10th best champion. I don't know what I'm going to do here. But AMI still adamant on banning that Ziggs away from Prosperity.
Yep, they're going to commit that even though we've swapped sides now. It is going to be AMI on the blue side, which is intriguing. Prosperity wanted to go red. So that immediately screams out to you, where do they want to get an advantage in laning phase or support counter? That's actually what I've seen a lot of R5s use for the most, is getting support counter. We saw it in the last game when Protoss was able to grab the Leona instead of the Rel. So we'll see where Prosperity's priorities lie in that one, as we are seeing some pretty similar stock bans. As you mentioned, the Ziggs, I believe the Poppy was also banned away in the first phase. The Riven ban. All right, we are. Am I not familiar with the Arya's game? Do we have a Riven OTP in our midst? I mean, that's the only reason why I think you throw a Riven ban. There's no Viper or 80 carry Riven bot lane you got to deal with like in the NACL right now.
Is Lycamaz like a secret hidden Riven player in mid lane? Who knows? You know what? I'm not going to knock it. AMI so far are 1-0 results-based analysis, so they're drafting no issues at the moment. But really interesting to see that this is what I was expecting. Decoy's Rumble not to get through. I thought they were going to take it in round 1, but they ended up taking the Aurora, which obviously worked out really good for them. I think Decoy plays those AP top laners really, really, really well. That's why I thought he was one of the better kind of prospects, during AMI's kind of NACL stint there. And I'm glad to see him kind of back, still competing, still hungry. But it'll be interesting to see what he's going to do matching up against Arya. And I like the fact that teams aren't egoing. If you don't know how to play Inara, just ban it away, because we already saw what happened. We've seen what it's doing across the world right now and how disgusting it is. Like lethal tempo plus 3 item, Inara is absolutely unstoppable. And games tend to get to that point because Baron spawns at 25 minutes.
Yep. You've seen a lot of the tier 1 teams do the best at piloting it, because if you draft correctly around it, it's kind of just like creating a shell around a Gatling gun that so nothing can touch the Gatling gun. It's burning you down. So yeah, I'm glad you called that out about Yunara. We won't see that one in this game. Yunara and Ziggs stay as 2 bans that AMI keep despite switching sides, going to the blue side, and they are going to be the Oriana for Retrozing. So again, when you talk about AMI, they have, NACL mainstay guys that have pretty, I would say, wider open champion pools. Then you factor in Protoss, who can play like disgusting solo queue supports. Good for pro play or competitive play, I'll say, but disgusting like Heimerdinger or Elise. So Retrozing probably has the smallest pool of all the AMI players. I don't hate just wanting a comfort champion for him, looking to get the series done and dusted. Whoa, the Cho'Gath answer.
And that's probably going to go into Arya's hands here. Although there is a world where Lycamaz takes it mid, I don't actually think it's Yeah, that's not even possible anymore. I mean, like it is, but like it's not even a real thing anymore, right? Like that got nerfed away really quickly because the recall boots got like nerfed and all that stuff. Like he is still a really high sustain mid laner if you really want to put him that way. But at that point, like if you're picking him there, like you're gonna have to supplement it with a lot of damage here. The Trundle being locked in for Icelandic Hero. So he went from arguably one of the most mechanically demanding champions in the jungle to Unga Bunga hit you with a stick. Yeah, I like. See, that's Unga Bunga. It's an Unga Bunga champion, and that's fine. It's there's a little bit of outplay potential with the pillar, but realistically, Prosperity now have to hyper index into damage in both mid lane and AD carry here, Kongzi. And there we go, Decoy's AP top laners coming into fruition. You take the Rumble away. You've already removed the Aurora because it got picked in game 1. Well, unfortunately, Gwen is still a champion that can be picked in Apex Mission Impossible. Hyper indexing that. I love that. Another double AP composition coming out from AMI here. Now, what are they going to layer this up with in the jungle side? Because I think they're just going to go top mid jungle here for their first 3.
Yeah, so ball delivery systems, Jarvan. All right, yeah, that's perfect
one.
Because you also, so the Jarvan now, obviously it's somewhat of an answer to what Prosperity have already picked, but what I will say is this is probably the most detriment to Kongji, because now it's like, all right, Kongji, if you don't pick an AD carry with an innate dash, whenever you don't have flash up, you're getting a nuke dropped on your head. It's the Orianna Jarvan combo. You're getting locked in a death spiral, and then you're just getting ulted, and you're gonna die. It doesn't really matter what AD carry you're playing. It's the life of an AD carry player. So that is twofold with that pick. Do Prosperity also just lock in their mid lane? Oh, okay. It is Cho'Gath mid. It's Cho'Gath mid. I don't want to see it because every time I see Cho'Gath mid, I remember the one flex game I played with Shibby where he wouldn't talk the entire time in VC. All he would do was run around with Shirelia's Cho'Gath and ult your cannon minion, no matter what wave you were on, and then he'd just laugh like a little gremlin. So
yeah, but I was fed, bro. I was fed. Like I was going crazy. Now I don't know if Lycovon's gonna do this. I do like the kind of tankiness coming out from Prosperity. Like the best kind of defense against burst is just a really high health pool. So there is a world where, you know, Cho'Gath kind of disrupts everything that AMI wants to do. But like you said, right, I like how you brought up that point of now Kongzi kind of has to, you know, is pigeonholed into picking a high mobility AD carry. And the thing is, you're going against somebody like Lojaz, who is more than willing to pull the trigger consistently. Maybe pull it more than it's actually needed to be pulled time and time again there. So, like, he's going to look for some of these kind of maniac angles. He's going to look for these engages. But I don't necessarily hate the Cho'Gath, right? And this could also be something like a Trundle top lane. Maybe there's Prosperity is still willing to flex it out. Maybe Icelandic Hero takes Cho'Gath into the jungle. I don't think that's actually that good, but I think you're right, Slayer. I think we're just going to see Trundle in the jungle, Jax for top lane, and then again, Cho'Gath in the mid. I do like the flex, though, that Prosperity did. Jax into Gwen, much more manageable than Cho'Gath into Gwen.
I know Kongji is a Sivir player, by the way, but if Kongji blocked in Sivir this game, he's straight into his squad. So yes, ban it because like this is a really good champion for him, but Sivir does not exist in this game if picked. So I would like to see them ban away dash champions, like Ezreal. You want to ban away Ezreal? Kongji can play
Kongji's
Zeri.
a good Ezreal.
Kongji's good Ezreal, like Zeri. Like think about dash champions. Though, okay. All right, so we haven't taken away dash champion. Maybe I'm focusing too much on this, Shibby, but I feel like
maybe you're hyper focused because you're an AD carry, right? So
this is what I think. Yeah, every time I see a Jarvan, I immediately go, all right, I cannot play.
You have nightmare. It's like,
I can
nightmare.
Yeah, it's like if I play Jhin, I just don't. I flash down. Like, sorry guys, I'm in a death ball. So there we go. That works. You know what's funny enough? In the meta right now, when I play solo queue, if I see a Jarvan locked in, I do pick Smolder right now. So there you go, Kongji. Respect. Even though you're a much better marksman player than I am.
I like the Smolder pick. I do think the Jhin ban is all right because Jhin typically plays like 100 million miles away from his team anyways. So like if Jarvan's if Jarvan's jumping back there for the there's an Ezreal. Oh, Baz is a pretty good Ezreal, by the way. A lot of range leashing potential for AMI there, and I like the fact that this is a mostly close-range composition. Even with Smolder, he's not the longest-range AD carries. I don't know if you're still building RFC on this guy as well, unless it's like super late-game situations. And Prosperity opted in to ban the Bard instead of the Neeko. So Protoss gets Neeko here. The playmaking potential, like, You're in nightmare right now if you're Prosperity, because now you've got ball delivery system, and now you can set that up with a Nico flash ultimate that's pretty much unreactable, right? Like, it is actually so disgusting that interaction is in the game where they can go invis and then they can just flash ult on top of your head and you can't really do too much about it. Prosperity, I don't know if this R5 is gonna seal the deal for AMI. Like, realistically, there's no support here that I think could like keep AMI away. Karma's fine, like you have a lot of shielding, you've got the poke in the lane, but realistically, Prosperity, I feel like with this relatively short range composition, AMI can just dunk on them every single time.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point. I think it's just short end of the stick scenario. Like, what was screaming out to my head at first is this, like, Renata might, not even Renata wouldn't work, because Renata, you can't play Renata with Smolder. It's a tough place to be in, so you're just trying to index into protecting your Smolder as best you can. Hey, listen, I've seen even in the LPL teams just say, screw it, our draft is cooked, let's just play to protect Smolder perma, and game gets long enough, it does work. So we'll see if that works out, because that is really what Prosperity are completely leaning on. Maybe some split push priority, maybe the fact that Trundle's a really good brawler early game. He once again gets Icelandic in a good spot to brawl early, but this time Lojaz has more agency. He can gank earlier, he can gank level 2, you can punish Icelandic when he's going for a full clear. Yeah, Prosperity, I think this is a hard road to come back from in this draft, but like we talk about all the time, Shibby, draft is only one thing. It's execution. It's execution that always comes down to, and if game won't toss anything, we're up for another roller coaster worth game here in game number 2 that I've heard is live. So let's see how this Cho'Gath mid in the year 2025, well, actually, sorry, the summer of 2025 works out. Yeah, so this is the Cho'Gath that terrorized the start of the season, it looks like.
Yeah, it is potentially going to be that. I don't know if he's going to go the full index into like the recall boots, Shirelias, and just kind of try to be a menace, right? The whole thing with that style of play, or for Cho'Gath, and why it was so disgusting and why it got nerfed, is that it was really, really uninteractive for the enemy mid laner and for the team to do anything about it, because he could push waves in, go bot, right? Roam top, Kongzi should be okay. That is a little bit of damage, but that's fine. It's okay. He'll be able to back out. And what this Cho'Gath would do is that he would run top, run bottom, recall, come back to lane, and push it back out and not really get punished. So that was a really big thing. And interestingly enough, Orianna does tend to struggle or punish, I would say, doesn't punish tanky mid laners the best. So like I said, I don't hate the Cho'Gath pick, but it is just kind of like a, we're going to stalemate the lane, and if Retrozing hits like 1 4K Elo Shockwave, then the game is probably over in like 25 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it is really up to just Retrozing taking full advantage of the fact that he's got a very uninteractive lane, farming up, and maybe Lojaz and Retrozing can find a kill onto Lycamaz when they hit level 6.
For the AMI side of this game, yeah, you do have this Gwen as a big win con for Decoy, but kind of like last game where we talked about range, it was Retrosing in game 1 with the Azir. If Baz gets rolling on this Ezreal, and you know, I will flex, I guess, lean on my Ezreal knowledge of this champion that I understand more than anyone. If I were playing Ezreal in this game, I would be smiling ear to ear. There is very little way for Ezreal to really ever be under threat. What do you have to get away from? A Cho'Gath Rupture, an Aaron Pillar, but you even have Arcane Shift, a Jack Stun. Like, there is a very little to deal with from range or CC chaining to stop Baz B from kind of just firing as many of these Mystic shots out as possible and doling out the damage as long as he builds correctly to deal with these higher health bars. So Baz is in prime position for AMI to kind of just wreck this game on his own.
Yeah, there's no true point-and-click CC, right? Like, if you want to get, like, really technical with the definition, sure, like, technically Pillar is point and click. You point at an area, you click on it, but like there's nothing that like a Annie Q, right? Or a Vi R, right? Or Vi Ultimate, right? Where, like you said, Baz doesn't really have much to fear from the side of Prosperity here. Like, he has to get silenced and then the CC chain comes in, right? It's the rupture into the stun, into the potential pillar. But realistically, yeah, Baz can get really greedy with his build as well, right? He can go for a very high damage build, doesn't really need to build super safe. And as long as his mechanics are on point, as long as he's arcane shifting correctly, I find it really hard for Prosperity to actually do anything like you mentioned. As Baz arcane shifted in and kind of whiffed everything. He's going to take a bit of damage, but Kongzi flash.
He's going to flash away from the Tangle Barb. So that's heal off of Inflame and flash off of Kongji, who does go TP. So he's going to be able to take greedier resets compared to his lane counterpart. But already losing flash is gotta be getting Mr. Ben Guy, aka Lojaz, pretty happy over there, knowing that this Smolder that's just so much of the front-loaded damage for Prosperity already going to be a threat for dives and ganks going forward. Also, to kind of conclude these AD carry talking points for Baz, one more thing. Beautiful Keystone play here from Baz. You can usually see Ezreal's go PTA for burst damage, but Conqueror is insane value here with the low range. You want Conqueror. You're going to get so many free Qs onto the Cho'Gath, the Jax, and the Trundle as fights go on. Yeah,
you'll be able to keep it up pretty consistently.
Oh, all right, here we go. Baz, one more Mystic shot. He nearly finds First Blood. Kongji's without Flash. Baz is able to push both members of the bot lane off of the wave already as we see a gank. In-lane gank coming across. The knockup going to land for Lojaz. Arya, you're going to have to get this flash at some point, but Decoy's just going to flash with a full stack passive, and they get First Blood over to the scaling Gwen for Apex Mission Impossible.
Yeah, a bit of a misplay from Lojaz. I don't think he needed a flash there. Decoy had it, but with both of these junglers doing mirrored clears, Icelandic actually ended up topside at level 4, while, Lojaz was level 4 on the bottom side. The really interesting thing is that they spotted out Lojaz. Lojaz cleared vision in the bottom side. So Arya should have known that at the 4.5 minute mark, or 4 minutes roughly, that Lojaz would be topside. A, because his camps are going to be up there, but also Icelandic hero most likely either pinged it or calmed it. Like, he's really good at jungle tracking, so I'm very surprised that Arya died to that gank, right? Such a basic lane gank, but really good look from Lojaz, getting the flash out, getting that kill onto Arya, and like you said, that scaling top lane pick in the Gwen slightly accelerated with that kill, already has the haunting guys in hand. And again, Retrozing and Lycomaz just trading CS back and forth. We'll see what they're going to be able to do later into the game here, but really well played from Lojaz and Decoy.
We talked about it from draft. The Trundle, even if it's very powerful meta pick right now, is a full clear merchant. So you need time for the Trundle to be super effective. Jarvan, level 2, you could effectively gank already. And it's good to see Lojaz recognizing that right now, in these first couple of wave rotations, he had the ability to impact a lane and get Decoy ahead. Because now Baz can settle into the bot side, where now he has a summoner advantage. He's getting his barrier back up. He has a bit more gold as well. You can see the double longsword versus boots completed for Kongji. Baz is going to be able to comfortably trade until a jungle presence shows up. Decoy's fine. Mid lane, we talked about Retrozing, can just trade waves constantly. AMI are in such a groove right now, and it's up to Icelandic to find a way to kind of break this mold that they push. But Decoy, with the ult up, is going to dash away from the Counter-Strike stun. Great dipping and dodging in. Oh. One more snip of the scissors would have gotten Arya killed, but he's still pushed out of lane.
Yeah, picks up the honey fruit, so he's probably a little bit more confident to stick in that top side. And I love how you mentioned that Trundle is like kind of evolved into a full clear merchant, because I remember when he was first being picked up way back when, like, they would do 2 camps red and then just sprint it to enemy side red and just hope to kill you there and get like a really cheesy gank. But now, because of the way the kind of game is and the way jungle is at the moment, yeah, Trundle full clearing here, hoping to get that level 6 and just looking at, like you said, be that skirmisher. Arya and Decoy still trading in that top side. Retrozing putting some autos down onto Lycomaz, but Lycomaz has already picked up a Ruby Crystal and an old Magic Mantle. So, the damage that Retrozing's trying to put in, especially with the, like you said, Ionian Boots of Lucidity that he's picked up. Sure, you get the extra cooldowns, but you're not really packing a lot of oomph into those punches, especially because you opted in for tier. So you're opting in for like a full scaling Orianna, or at least a somewhat scaling version of this pick. And yeah, I don't think Lycomaz is going to go into the Shirelias that we talked about. This is just going to be a more standard kind of tanky mid lane Cho'Gath, right? This stalemate of a laner, right? It used to be Malzahar, the ranged version. Cho'Gath is like the melee version of that.
See the swap come across here for AMIs. They get Decoy in the 1 versus 2. This is a bit intriguing. Swapping with the Gwen into a 1v2, especially knowing Baz and Protoss were just throwing hands at Kongji and Inflame, but maybe this just shows that Yeah, exactly. That is a good point there. Is that Low Jazz wants to make grubs a priority, so by getting the strongest part of your early game on the top side, got to be in a good spot here, and they should be able to just start up these grubs. Not going to be an answer. Kongji's going back bot side, and Trundle, you can see from Icelandic, is already making a bit of camp stealing shenanigans going on there. Arya not going to die to Baz and Protoss. He's going to be just tanky enough to survive, but both neutral objectives going pretty unchecked over to the AMI side.
Yeah, really good movement coming out from AMI, like you said, moving their strongest part of their team up to this top side, denying the split push potential that is something like a Jax and a Cho'Gath here, not allowing them to get grubs, and that's going to put them 2 on the objectives for the feats of warfare, so it's going to be really nice. I'm interested if Arya is really willing to stay for this. Like, his back got interrupted, or he kind of stopped it himself, but we already know grubs is being taken. Inflame is here. I don't know if that's enough to stop the dive, though.
The wave's cutting down pretty quickly, so Low Jazz got to make up his mind. Doesn't feel comfortable enough. They're going after Decoy here with Icelandic and Kongji, the TP, but Mom comes through first. And now we have both of our first 2 kills going over to the huge scale options for both of our squads.
Yeah, I feel like if you needed to pull that trigger on that top side dive, you should have done it when the wave was a lot bigger. You should just hit the Cataclysm, EQ out of there. Like, if Arya burns Flash, he burns Flash. But instead, they're going to just hyper-index into this top side, potentially gaining themselves first turret. I think they really want it. That's going to put them in the feats of warfare. That's a really big gold swing.
See Low Jazz go forward, but Arya's going to re-engage here. Counter-Strike stun going to be flash.
Nice flash.
Beautiful flash from Arya. There's no Cataclysm, nothing. It's going to have to be the Pop Blossom to kite back from Protoss. Baz gets the Conqueror stack, but now he's in a 1 versus 2. Does he have enough damage to trade out the Jax? He should with a couple more autos. The Karma Shield won't save him, but Inflame makes it a 2-for-1. That first turret comes at a cost here for AMI.
Yeah, that gold swing I talked about, completely neutralized with Arya and Inflame getting a kills here. Retrozing, I don't think he's going to get out. He has Flash.
He has Flash. He's going to use the Shock Wave. Kongji right on top of him. He's holding on to that Flash with enough health. He might be able to get back out. He's trying to trade back into Kongji, who nearly tanks a turret shot. That almost gave Retrozing a window to find the trade kill, but the confidence, not needing to burn that Flash, does cash in for Retrozing.
I really thought he was going to have to burn that or he's going to die, but that's you know, nerves of steel there from Retrozing. Really good Shockwave as well. Forced the flash out of Kongzi and actually messed up Icelandic's pathing a little bit there, or like pathing towards him. But yeah, that gold lead that we talked about, that AMI kind of, we originally thought they had secured for that turret. Arya picking up 2 kills there, especially because he got solo killed early on that lane. That's really big for the Jax here. It's still going to make him a, you know, split push threat later into the game here. And so far, both these teams, I would argue, relatively quiet. We've got about 6 kills at 11 minutes. Majority of those, you know, have kind of just been like man advantage kills, right? Or just like kind of a misplay.
Yeah.
We talked about Low Jazz pulling the trigger sometimes when it doesn't need to be pulled. That was one of those moments in the top side where they thought they had a play, but Arya had full sums up, had ultimate available, and he had the backing of an enchanter. And that's where this Karma pick kind of comes into fruition, that it really enables a lot of these melee DPS, right? You love to pair up stuff like a Zinzao, stuff like a Jax with things like Lulu, Karma, that kind of stuff. So there is a world where Arya and Icelandic just kind of run at you, and you don't have the damage, you don't have the ability to stop them because you may not have enough CC, or you have to burn a crucial CC tool like the Cataclysm, like the Orianna ultimate to just get them off of you. Because in the Karma ultimate, the empowered E actually gives them move speed on top of a shield, so it is kind of scary.
You know what's scary right now though for Prosperity? Baz recalls and gets Triforce done. So
yes.
This Ezreal is, the fact that Triforce is one of the first few legendaries that come through for our carries is a scary thing for Prosperity, and they time it up pretty well to go onto this dragon, as Low Jazz normally does here. He's going to try and set up to see if he can make a pick play at first. They are getting a bit collapsed on. That's Mom out from Kongji to maybe just scout or get Icelandic up into the river as they'll clear out that pink ward. But now you don't have a lot of solar damage. They're going to run at Low Jazz, but he just flags and drags back out. Baz seems like he's in a bad spot, but he has Arcane Shift and Flash. He's going to go right over the wall, and Kongji's already down to about 40% HP there. True Shot Barrage only going to find its mark on Inflame, but there's the Cataclysm. Kongji was already flapping though, but Protoss snipes him out, and the Shockwave comes through. One more auto, and Icelandic gets the max range Mystic Shot from Baz to pick up a double for AMI.
Yeah, Baz is schmoving, bro. Like, he is playing so confidently, like you mentioned, not really under threat here. And that is like Prosperity's best tool. Karma E into like click at you as fast as possible and then maybe throw down a Trundle Pillar. Once that's used, you don't really have a lot to kind of swing back at AMI there. And like I said, AMI recognized that. Jarvan went in, Lojaz really good on the Cataclysm, gets the damage down, even though Kongzi flaps out of it. He still took a ton of damage there, and the rest obviously you saw Baz hitting the crucial Mystic shots, hitting those skill shots on the Ezreal, and yeah, I mean, that's just going to give them pure mid lane control. That's going to allow them to clear out Dragon. They're probably going to start this up, and a lot of the resources that we talked about for Prosperity that were committed, Flash not available for Kongzi. Lycamaz is already TP'd onto the bot side. Like, we don't have any ultimates for Icelandic or Flash for Icelandic. This should be AMI's Dragon if they choose to start it.
I think they'll start it if they get an idea that Inflame is topside. Not going to show, so they do have that information gained. But wow, look at this. Lojaz is just cracking the Dragon on his own. It's going to take a while. And, all right, he's got Baz swinging on over here. And they're going to secure that one. So 3 for 3 on the neutrals from Lojaz and AMI so far. And as we start to get a grasp on where the game currently is at, oh, hold on, we're going to get an ult out of Gwent. Now, just clearing the wave out here. They're going to look for a dive maybe onto Lycamaz, but that's probably the scariest member to try and dive right now. There isn't any help coming, though.
I actually don't think Lycamaz is in any trouble. We're really going to try to dive him. This dive is going to take, a couple years, guys. Like, I don't know about this one.
Oh, Protoss took 2 turret shots. We can't make this work. Oh, smarter. Get rid of the turret. All right. It's the anti-dive. There is no dive if there's no turret up there. And Lycamaz tries to run away. Gets dropped in the Cataclysm. They get the turret. He's just going to feast on Lojaz, though. This is getting really wacky. Lycamaz is... Yeah, he's just going to walk out on the enemy jungle with a kill. All right.
Yeah, he's picking Jarvan out of his teeth right now. Like, that's exactly what's happening.
The helmet's stuck in his molars right now, trying to get that out.
Dentist nightmare there. Lycamaz just like, that's what I was like. This dive's not going to work. I don't think they have the damage. Also, it's going to take a million years. Now you've committed 3 people to that. Like, you get the turret, sure. You lose Lojaz, and now you lose your ability to even contest this Rift Herald. Like, that was not a good play at all. Like AMI just kind of threw all of their momentum out the window trying to go for that. I really didn't like that play on the Lycamaz. Like, it is just a Cho'Gath, guys. It's Riftmaker, sure, but you could do much more on the map with like Baz and Retrozing.
Without a doubt. They also lose grasp of the gold lead. It's down to like 300 because they lost top lane turret and that Herald.
It's even.
I do want to see if we can flash the gold up, though, what the advantage looks like between our ADs. Yeah, that's 1,300 gold up on that. So,
yeah,
that's, again, I still think is just really scary because Kongzi is going to have a much harder time positioning-wise than Baz in this game. And it's not ever going to get easier.
Yeah, it's not like I said. Like,
oh,
I don't know if he's still.
Whoa, Protoss on the back line. He gets the Pop Blossom on Icelandic, who does pop the Subjugate. They can't get Baz over here just yet. It's Retrosync trying to push the damage out. The Mom comes out. Flash forward from Arya. Protoss is down, but they only get rid of the support. And now Baz is here with the inside track. He's going to go after Icelandic with Decoy on the back end. Going to pop the needlework. Arya in a 1v1 with Retrosync. Baz going to have to help out. The Shockwave is just enough to get the kill onto Arya. The Jax doesn't go buck wild in the back line. And we end up with 1 kill apiece. But if you're AMI, you probably take it knowing your support was traded out.
Yeah, that's completely fine there. Protoss is going to be continuously giving his life for the cause of AMI there. Like, even if he dies 1 for 1, the Pop Blossom's going to land on the multiple members. They picked up Arya as well. The interesting thing that we're going to have to contend with is that Dragon's going to be coming up in 2 minutes, and Otacon's going to be spawning on that bottom side like a minute later. So we're going to see if either of these teams actually look to contest Dragon here. That fight win, or the potential fight win that we talk about for AMI, if they look to contest this, that could snowball themselves into that Otacon. It's really weird to use that term, but ever since Otacon has been introduced, you can get like these mid-game snowballs of objectives where it's like Dragon into Otacon, into like mid-lane tier 1 turret, into potentially tier 2 on the side. Like, it is a really huge influx of just like resources and gold being put onto your team if the enemy team just decides to completely int you. As Retrozing might be in some trouble.
Might be adopting the Lycamaz side lane effect from game 1, but he does have the shockwave. The counter strike's not going to stun. Oh, it does still land from Arya. Flag Dragon on the back end. They're going to try and trade Icelandic out, but there's not enough damage here. You lose Retrozing, and now Lojaz has to expend that critical summoner. He'll survive, but it's now Inflame's getting picked up by a great pop blossom. Protoss uses the Rocket Bell to get just enough damage down, but the slow Baz cannot connect with the Mystic Shot. Inflame gets out, and now Kongji's starting to trade pretty well. Baz and Protoss limping away from a play that they started. True Shot Barrage not going to find its mark either.
Ooh. That's really funny because typically you want to try to aim it away, and Inflame was just actually right under directly the turret. So the no dodge in that sense, but a really good side lane play from Arya and Icelandic. Retrozing might be a little greedy with his flash this game, right? Because he did it before on that bottom side when Trundle was there, but surely if you really want to maximize your potential to live, the moment you hit that two-man shockwave, you flash out so that stun doesn't land. Arya kind of landing at the last half second of that Jack stun really swung that top lane fight, and unfortunately Lojaz just does not have the damage. He's on Sundered Sky in a dream. He can't really finish off anybody or get the damage down here. Baz is completely fine with this, by the way. Like, Icelandic Hero is just trying to get that cooldown out. But Decoy quietly having himself a game here. Like, he's just been, you know, on the side, matching, 164 CS, Riftmaker in tow, probably going to be working towards that Nashor's, and somebody's going to have to answer him. If it's going to be Lycamaz, eventually it's going to tilt into Decoy's favor, just because of how much damage he's willing to output onto Cho'Gath here. But it does look like we're Nay-ramming so far, because Dragon is up Dragon is up right now.
Hextech Soul as well, probably the best one you could get onto this range comp.
On the Ezreal?
On the Ezreal and the Orianna is just really, even the Nico, but the Rupture's going to land onto Lojaz. He gets silenced. He can't flag and drag out. Lycamaz's Cho'Gath already getting huge value here. Need to work from Decoy. He's trying to push everybody off of his team. Uses the Gwen immune to get back out, but with Lojaz down, AMI have to scramble because there's no way they can contest Dragon. They're going to try and push the mid wave up to try and threaten a tier 1 turret, but it's the inside track towards the Dragon, and Otacon also spawning right over that wall at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to double dip for this. Lojaz does come back up in 10 seconds. If it was more of a team wipe, right, or maybe it was like 4 members went down on AMI, that's definitely a much more lucrative prospect. But it is just going to be the Dragon. They're going to take that, and they're going to kind of back off with the gold that they get in the objectives. As Tier 1 in the mid lane is going to be under pressure for Prosperity, but I don't think Baz and Retrozing can actually do too much about it. So Prosperity actually lose nothing for that play, and that's kind of the miracle situation we talked about, where if you do get silenced, unfortunately there is a ton of like knock-up CC available, right? Like, there's no point and click. Greedy.
Feast is up for the Cho'Gath again. Lycamaz is now 9 stacks deep on that Feast. He's been gifted 2 of those huge old scaling abilities.
Yeah, now he's got Force of Nature into this double AP composition here. Decoy and Retrozing aren't going to be able to do too much, right? Oh, nearly. Yeah, Protoss. Yeah, for sure. No, you're right. Triple AP composition here. So realistically, it's going to be up to Lojaz and Baz to whittle this Cho'Gath down. And he's not at Scion levels of Hyper Tank, but he is still really disgusting to deal with. But it looks like Retrozing and Decoy are up for the task. Let's see if you can chomp this Cho'Gath down.
Still alive. He's flashing after the Orianna. The TP comes across. Arya's here. Lycamaz is not going to die. He's surviving for way too long. It's going to be Retrozing traded back out. Luckily, Protoss was here first. He's going to snare Arya before Icelandic can jump any further forward. But with Decoy hurt, he's going to have to teleport back in as everyone's starting to dance around the Octagon.
Yeah, it's mid laner for mid laner. And I will say, couple of resources used.
Protoss, man. We are way out of position. He's going to have to pop blossom defensively. If Counter-Strike comes up, Arya can just hop on top of him, but Protoss doing a good job delaying for Decoy. They don't have needlework, but they do have Lojaz with the Cataclysm. He's forcing the flash out of Inflame, and now Baz is here. The main damage dealer just has to land these Mystic shots. Icelandic trying to run back towards his Smolder, and with the help of Mom, they're going to usher Icelandic out. And we go back to another 4v4 spot, but this time with AMI having a bit more control around that Octagon.
And we're at the we're at the 22-minute mark.
Again. Protoss is caught and has to flash this time. Are we at execute with Kongji already? Is that what I was getting word of?
No. We're at 209 stacks. Yeah, I was about to ask for it. Yeah, 23 minutes in. This is roughly where you can. That's a pretty good pace, right?
25
Yeah,
is
solo.
the median.
Yeah, solo lane Smolders get it a little bit faster, but honestly, given the lane that he was kind of in and the fighting that was happening on the map, like Kongzi hitting that 225 stack around, like you said, Slayer, around the 23 and a half minute mark potentially, or even 24 minutes. That's really good. These fights are gonna, start swinging in Prosperity's favor here. We're already hit that late game point here, about a minute and 45 seconds until this next dragon here. And just as devastating as it is to pick up Hextech Soul for AMI, it's also really disgusting on the side of Prosperity, because if one lick of CC lands, if one ability lands, you're slowed down. It makes the Rupture easier to hit. It makes the Jack Stun easier to hit. The Pillar, like, it is actually disgusting if this comp finds a situation where they can just run at you with Mantra E Karma and just absolutely run you down. Like, there may just not be enough damage to deter them.
Now with the Moonstone done for Inflame and more Spore Ends coming soon after, protecting Kongji is looking pretty
Much
potent.
easier.
Yeah, the Serpent, I don't think, maybe we'll see a Serpent's Fang. There's only real 2 people I think could ever equate to buying it. And again, Kongji does have the tankier front line. What AMI's answer was going to be to this front line that we haven't seen yet, even once in this game, should be at 25 minutes. We have not gotten a Cataclysm Shockwave combo yet.
Yeah, it hasn't landed on the Kongzi's head, so he's completely fine. Kongji just got word from our lovely producer, Hummus, that Kongji has executed 24 and a half minutes, right? So yeah, roughly around there. Baz, though, doing a good job taking advantage of the overloading from Prosperity on this bottom side. And yeah, RetroZing also getting a tier 2 for the top. This is just bad lane assignment. Also, maybe it's just really good baiting from AMI. Like, they are looking relatively juicy. Protoss has been in some, interesting situations. RetroZing is
This is a fine
death, friend.
This is a fine death. Now, but do AMI force on the other side? There's Kongji trapped in the Cataclysm, already burned the flash, but boy, does Lojaz take a ton of damage. Mom not going to find the trade as we flash topside. RetroZing's going to die, but Lojaz also falls. Baz wasn't here. He's now swinging on over. Does he have enough damage? They do get the root down onto Icelandic. Baz going to dash forward, gets it with one more auto. Decoy, though, going to be chased down by Lycamaz, who's going to feast on this Gwen. Down he falls. And that's going to make sure the Octagon will finally be secured. We have a hell of a lot traded across the map.
You live by Lojaz, you die by Lojaz. Unfortunately, with Baz pushing in mid lane and Lojaz trying to force a play because there's 2 members top, you just don't win that 3v3, especially because Kongzi has hit that execute point. Really well played from Prosperity to make that play on the top side, and immediately Lycamaz TP's down to that bot side, doesn't need to cash in the gold or anything like that, causes the numbers disadvantage, and unfortunately, that's going to result in Prosperity picking up multiple turrets across the map, a kill, and Otacon, crucially, which is going to give them that nice little EXP lead. Gold is still even, but you have to realize the lead that Prosperity has, it's in the EXP, it's in the other things, right? It's everything else on the map that they've been able to acquire here. And now that Baron is up, they're also going to get first move on putting down vision and starting to snuff out whatever AMI has along their own blue side here for Baron. Dragon's up as well. I think AMI is just going to be able to take this. Like, they are just trading vision on the top side for Dragon, which is fine.
Does get Hextech Soul point over to AMI, though. So that's a pretty big win comp from the playthrough. And we saw the gold get flashed back up there. Again, I've liked what Baz has done, and I've done the same thing with how safe Ezreal can feel, like pushing lanes in spots, taking these turrets, threatening the mid-tier 2. But now, the way these fights have looked, it's nearly a full. It was nearly a full item lead for Baz compared to Kongji. He's not that far behind, but he's not gonna have a ton of damage. He's getting the rapid fire cannon. He's still gonna be damage limited. This right here, where you're at, Baz and the Israel, might be arguably the scariest you're gonna get. Spear of Shojin, Moramana stacked up, Triforce. The damage Ezreal pushes out now is frankly disgusting. So AMI, Baz in particular, like the map movements he's gone for, but now you gotta be present at every single fight, because AMI need it or they lose fights. You also need Protoss to stop getting caught, because for the 3rd time he's gotten caught trying to farm vision. Instead, he is dinner for Lycamaz, who chomps down his 4th straight kill with that Cho'Gath ultimate.
we were clowning on the Cho'Gath pick, but in reality, again, Orianna just didn't have the ability to punish it. And realistically, AMI just haven't been able to make plays on the map. And now this Cho'Gath is just a disgusting meatball of a tank. And I don't know if LoJazz can actually contest this.
I mean, Lycamaz is creating all the action right now for Prosperity, and they're going to find even more kills if Decoy can't get out. Baz had Arcane Shift away. The Shockwave is 2 members, but remember this top side for Prosperity, they're just so health rich, so they can tank the Shockwave and turn their attention right back towards the Baron. With Lycamaz having Feast back up, he can make sure there's a no contest on this Baron, even if LoJazz respawns in time. But instead, he's just going to chop down on Retrozing. Flash eat again. Lycamaz is just chomping down on all of AMI.
Yeah, that's absolutely disgusting. Lycamaz has come online, guys. I do like this play from AMI. They are going to go for the inhib. Yeah, he's got to save the minion, guys. Save the minions. They do get a tier 3 in return for that Baron, so gold still for Prosperity. And realistically, Prosperity has navigated the mid to late game beautifully, right? They have absolutely crossed up AMI at every single juncture. It all started from that top lane play specifically when Retrozing and the rest of AMI were trying to punish the overload coming out from Prosperity on that bottom side where there was 4 members up during Otacon. Yeah, you get the tier 2, but the fact that Lycamaz was able to go up there, make that play, and then immediately TP down, that's what's kind of started this chain inting fiasco, I would argue, from AMI. And like you said, Protoss, maybe LoJazz's long-lost brother, because both of these guys are just going for some maniac plays here and just getting punished every single time by this Cho'Gath.
And now that big Wombo they drafted for, I mean, it's like a murmur. Lycamaz, Icelandic, and Arya, unless this is hitting, unless you're chaining up Hot Blossom into a Shockwave and a Cataclysm onto the bot side, the bot lane of Prosperity, they're just going to laugh back at you, Prosperity are, when you try and throw that ult down in any of these fights.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like the fact that we've yet to get this Jarvan, Orianna, Wombo combo is just a misplay and a misexecution from AMI. Like there were plenty of opportunities. I think they could have done it, or at least they could have looked for it. But they've, like we said, kind of focused on splitting the map a little bit more, and that has allowed Lycamaz to kind of get into this position of like, I'm just a mega tank. You have to deal with me. You're gonna have to hit me whether you want to or not, and that's gonna give Kongzi, who's at the stacked smolder, right, who's at that execute point, his ability to just hit consistently and just burn everybody down.
Oh my, that is not okay. That is illegal. He's three levels up on Decoy, by the way.
Excuse me. What did I just see?
I love that 8 tier 2, man. I love it. You only see stuff like this in the ACL, folks.
He just ate on him. Look, he just ate, and Lycamaz's ult is already back up. It's almost like it's literally at 75%.
Dude, he's 7 levels up on Protoss.
Bro
you
is
just
like,
dive him.
Bro's like me at a buffet, man. He's just unlimited snacks right now. Like he's going crazy.
Yeah. I mean, watch LoJazz. Bye-bye. It came back up just in time for him to eat somebody else. Man, we got to be done clowning picks here in the ACL because Lycamaz has silenced everyone that was critical of this pick. This Cho'Gath is quite literally Exodia.
Yeah, I mean, 8-1. And yeah, I just got word from production. Cho'Gath Ultimate is at a 36-second cooldown. Every half a minute, he's going back to take a play. Like every single time. And it's absolutely disgusting. He kind of reminds me, like, you know, have you seen the trend, Slayer, of like those guys that are trying to do like the hot dog challenge or whatever, where they're trying to eat like 100 hot dogs at a baseball event or something like that? That's Lycamaz, and it's just him taking that challenge solo and winning right now. Every 36 seconds, he's able to jump on somebody. Every 36 seconds, if you are LoJazz, Decoy, Retrozing, or no, sorry, if you're anyone on AMI, yeah, there's no tanks. You're dead to rights. You get hit by a rupture, your life is gone.
It's going to get to a point where it's not even needed for a rupture. If he has flash up with Hail of Blades, just flash E, get the triple autos down, and you're gonna get eaten at about 6% HP. He's gonna get another stack, by the way, off this dragon. They smited early for him, and yeah. So how much health is this guy getting off?
10,000. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Shit.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
We gotta check your arithmetic or something, man. This is getting absurd. He's 6k HP though. And he's also not built. Well, he's building basically full tank. I think
if this Warmog's
wins
comes
Prosperity
through.
the game. Like this.
Yeah, if this is a Warmogs, like I don't see a Bork. I don't see anything like HP shred at all, other than the Leandries on RetroZing. Like, yeah, Lycamaz is just gonna win them this game by sheer force of will, right? He is just an absolute unit right now. Guy's been bulking on creatine and you know PEDs for the whole game.
Yeah,
and he's just. Yeah, 100%. He's gonna absolutely destroy AMI. Oh, Protos!
All right, he at least gets Kongji's flash out. So you trade your flash for the Smolder flash, but the problem that we outlined for Prosperity's comp, like as funny as this is to say, this is a 33-minute Smolder. He does finally get Shockwave. They get on to Kongji. They're gonna Cataclysm in Lycamaz. He actually has to flash back out. Prosperity maybe getting a little bit too comfortable behind their lead. Are going to get punched in the mouth there and sent back packing. Not really going to be able to stay around here to play for the inhibitor as well. Super Stancer, though, in the bottom lane, like you called out, means that Prosperity won't have to pay much more than their AD carries life.
Yeah, but getting that flash out from Kongji makes the next 5 minutes a little bit more difficult. Actually makes the next 45 seconds very difficult once this Baron pops up, because Kongji already got hit with just an errant flag and... Uh-oh. Okay. Whoa! Whoa!
Hey, you know what? He dodged the rupture. He dodged the rupture.
Lopez is crazy. Lopez is crazy. He sees the flag onto Trundle and Cho'Gath and says, you know what? That looks like a really good drag into the team. Yeah, that guy's insane. I can't even comprehend that. That's insane. Very well played from Lojaz to dodge out the rupture, but that could have ended really horribly, especially because Baron is so close to being spawned right now. I really don't want to see him do it again, Slayer. I really don't.
Oh boy, all right, here comes the Trundle Cho'Gath trying to dog walk him through with the Karma Shields, but they're not going to pull the trigger now. That was a foreboding play, though. If AMI are not in right position, that's exactly what's going to happen to them. It's going to be a Cho'Gath with the Karma Shield speed up, running at them with Trundle. And they have no way to get up into this river. They also have no way to secure it again. Feast is up. You could smite at like 2.5k. There's nothing for Lojaz to do. Lycamaz isn't on the Baron, but he's going to walk on over. They're going to Cataclysm Lycamaz in. He's going to flash out and trap the Cho'Gath in there. Stun is going to land on 2 members. RetroZing's down. Thanks to Arya. The Pop Blossom and Bass is damaged. They should have enough to try and trade this out, but it's Lycamaz on the back end who feasts on Decoy, and neither Icelandic or Arya die. Finally, they do knock down one, but there's just so much pressure on Baz's shoulders to try and bring this one home, and he's just not hitting the Mystic shots. And they're going to walk away in very awkward scenarios. Baz goes back up towards the animal base, and yeah, they're just going to TP Lycamaz. He's going to look for the back door, and he can end the game. Baz, can you get back towards base? I don't think so in time. First Nexus turret's down. Protos is not going to be able to get back. They're chasing Baz around the base. Lycamaz, the Cho'Gath hero, he won't have enough. He's going to turn his attention towards Protos, but this is what Protos wants to do. He's pulling Lycamaz and Icelandic off of his Nexus, and he's just completely stalling. He's gonna die to minion. Oh, I got baited by the clone health bar. Protos is gonna be fine, but Protos might have just saved this game for AMI. I don't know why Lycamaz committed to this chase.
Yeah, I think he could have. Well, no, he probably wouldn't have gotten the Nexus turret there, unfortunately. Does chomp down onto Lycamaz there. Baron's going to be up, or Baron, sorry, he's not going to be up. It is up right now. Dragon in a minute. Death timer 40 seconds. RetroZing, unfortunately, that top fight didn't get the shockwave off here. And obviously in this new season, you know, turrets respawn right now. So it is going to be, I don't mind that from Lycamaz, like trying to go for that kill, delay Protos' his respawn, and just secure them this Baron. That is a long con play that actually has helped them out, I think, in securing this Baron and securing this Dragon that's going to be up in 30 seconds here. AMI have pretty much seceded any sort of pressure and vision they can get down, but they want to do something with 3 members here. I don't know about this. I don't like this.
Maybe they'll just try and stall backs. There is only Arya's TP up to answer Decoy, so he's not even going to get this tier 2 turret. Maybe he gets it, but it might cost him his life. All of Prosperity are running right at Decoy right now. He is going to get the tier 2 turret. AMI are trying to position here to maybe get Hextech's soul point, but I don't think they're strong enough to contest this, and Baz might be caught out, but it's actually the turn onto Icelandic. Cataclysm down. Icelandic is trapped in the pit, but he uses the Karma Shields and the Subjugate to just whack home Lojaz, who goes down first. Baz gets over the wall with a Rupture. He's going to find Baz, and the Feast goes down. The big bad Ezreal falls, and that will lock Prosperity into a Game 2 win. We're going the distance towards the end of the Noxus group of GSL 1.
There was a situation, we talked about it, where if it gets late enough and Karma Mantra E is just boosting their whole team and they're just running at you Mach speed, unfortunately AMI just don't have the tools to deal with it. And yeah, this is a last kind of breath, but really well played from Prosperity, dragging this game out. 38 minutes in, we thought Smolder was going to be the hero of this game. No. It's actually Cho'Gath who's going to put the team on his ginormous back. His delts and his shoulders are absolutely stacked, Slayer.
He's got way too many androgenic receptors up there for this guy. Yeah, that was absurd. I mean, listen, I want to say, I think we were valid to criticize the Cho'Gath. If we had known that they were going to int him 4 straight feast kills on the side lane, then yeah, of course you're going to lose to the goddamn Cho'Gath. Like, this is absurd. They put this Cho'Gath so far ahead, AMI, and they have really only themselves to blame. I think that was one of the most messy mid games I've seen from an AMI team that we hyped up at game 1 for being NACL level in their decision making, but they were completely scatterbrained this time.
Yeah, I do want to give credit to where credit is due. Prosperity did a really good job navigating that mid game, right? AMI made the mistakes. I think they just got a little too antsy. And like I said, you live by Lojaz, you die by Lojaz. A lot of those engages, or a good chunk of them, were a little bit overzealous and ended up getting his team punished pretty consistently. And like you said, feeding kills into the Cho'Gath, who, as he gains more HP, as he stacks those HP items, his execute threshold gets bigger and bigger. And when you have no true tanks on the side of AMI, yeah, like you said, every 36 seconds, he's going to find somebody to chomp down on, and very, very well played from Lycom. I was like, sure, if we could have predicted that this game would go 40 minutes, I would have 100% taken Prosperity's draft every single time, but we just kind of believed that AMI would be able to do stuff early with the Cataclysm plus Orianna combo, which, mind you, they actually never landed the Cataclysm Orianna ultimate. They only landed the Flag and Drag Orianna ult, which was very, very disappointing. A 1-2 combination that you can't land like that, if you can't find opportunities, it might be time to put that jungle mid combination away.
Well, luckily they have time to put that away, Shibby, because they did not lose the series off one game, as we all know, with best of 3 format. But here's where the fun part comes in, everyone. We are going to a game 3 here to decide our Seed B and Seed C teams out of the Noxus path through the GSL stage. And that means that there are 20 champions off the board. So we'll find out what 10 get selected after an intermission to see if Prosperity or AMI come out on top on our showcase series here of the ACL. It all comes down to this, folks. Aegis Champions League Salt Mine Spotlight as we wind down the first GSL stage. And an important distinction that I did not make at the start of this, and you can call me an ACL casual if you want. The difference between Group B and Group C, Shibby, is playoffs. If you are a Group B team, you are locked to playoffs. If you're a Group C, you technically have elimination at stake prior to playoffs. So, what an ultimatum coming into this game 3 between AMI and Prosperity.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it. We were hinting at it, but we weren't really like, super concrete with it. Yeah, you Group A, Group B team do get locked into playoffs because you are that higher seed. That is the benefit you get to going into that upper GSL. And then when we hit those later stage GSLs or those stage 2 GSLs for the upper teams, that's going to determine the seeding for the playoffs in ACL here. And if you're on that lower side, yeah, you are in like do or die situations in that lower Group C and D. So will be really interesting to see. I know some of the teams and matches have already resolved. I believe Lotus beat Milk Esports. I caught Gordo talking about that. So some of the games have already been resolving, and really high pressure situation because depending on who wins this game or depending on what happens, like you could be putting yourself in a position to experiment, right, against the Group A, Group B teams, really take it a little bit less seriously and kind of really focus on your compositions. Or you're going to be in those situations, like you mentioned, Slayer, where you are in do or die and you don't really have a lot of time to play around because you're into the fire. After that, once we hit ACL playoffs, we'll be matching up probably in those round 1 matchups against those Group A and Group B teams. But we aren't there yet, Slayer. We are in the draft here, and there are 20 champions that you mentioned off the board. So this is where Fearless gets a little funky now. We hit into the 3, 4, 5 game stretch. This is where guys are on their 3rd, 4th, 8th, 10th best champion potentially.
Yeah, depending on how bans go, definitely that number can climb pretty quickly. We see AMI off a loss. Take a page out of Prosperity's book. They want red side. I may be too LPL coded in my thinking that blue is a little bit more stronger. But hey, I mean the red side team has won both of the games in this series, so there's some results-based analysis for you. As AMI will once again ban away the Ziggs. I expect them to ban away Ziggs and Unara. Once again, they've done it all series long, no matter what side of the draft they were on. Same thing goes for this Poppy and Jace from Prosperity. So this is why Fearless is fun. You see the same band still come across. Nobody's willing to give up a priority pick. That means that you have to go for, 10 champions that have never made it towards this stage of the draft.
Yeah, that's typically what happens in Fearless. Like you said, no one's willing to budge. A lot of the guys have just kind of figured out, like, hey, these champions will never see the light of day here. But like you mentioned, AMI do have a little pick to work with. They banned the Riven last time around, like we were talking about. Like, is there a secret Riven player? Might have been Lycomos, the way he piloted that Cho'Gath melee mid here. But it is going to be Hui. So Lycomos champion pool is getting pinched a little bit here, as well as you look on the top side for AMI. No Jace, no Rumble, no Gwen, no Aurora. There's not too many AP top laners available after that. You got to start dipping into some really dark tech like Rise or something weird and wacky there. So we'll end up seeing what AMI end up doing here. I do actually like red side, and Prosperity gonna lock in the Sivir that has been consistently banned out in round 2 of the ban phase here, straying up away a little bit. Instead of locking in their top mid jungle that they typically like to do, they've already started off with the Sivir here. But like I said, I don't think there's too many OPs available, so I think AMI taking red side just to get 2 really good champions for themselves, I think is completely fine.
Still looking to see if Wukong or Xin Zhao come across. Like we've mentioned, ACL is officially tier 2 partnered. So oh god, our draft is busting, just blowing up in front of our eyes.
Victor squared.
Who wins this? I think Victor squared would just rattle Sivir squared. With you.
I mean, 6 items, 6 items Sivir, 6 items Sivir squared might go crazy. I mean,
who knows?
The move speed. Okay, if on the hunt stacks like boom boom, you're not catching.
Oh, okay. If on the hunt stacks, yeah. I mean, that's true. But think about 2. I guess that's a good point though, because if we're just saying 2v2, Arcane Storm can't grow massively. That would be crazy though. Enough silliness though. Let's get back into these picks here. The Jinx is going to come through, so this game is going to be marked by protect the 80 carries. 6 items. Sivir and Jinx are kind of just like Foreman and Rocky going blow to blow. They are not to be messed with.
a fake boxer and a real one, and both of them impeccable records. Well, maybe Rocky's not fake in Philadelphia. My bad, guys. Sorry for the couple Philadelphians in the Twitch chat right now. Yanni, I saw you. Aurelian Soul, though, you're in the West Coast. I'm not even gonna count you. Like,
I'm wearing the hat. There's like two of the things here. There's a bunch of.
No.
I mean,
no.
I could.
Unfortunately, you gotta teleport yourself 3
just,
hours into the time.
Like
Why didn't you just have those ready, by the way? Where did you just pull those out from? All right, Kaiba. Okay.
Look, that's rookie Jalen Hurts. He's wearing number 2. Not even wearing number 1.
All right.
You go. Like Amaz, though, is a huge Aurelian Soul player. So that's what I want to keep in mind. He loves to save this pick for the end of series as a series clincher. And the Wukong does get through here. So we finally see the Wukong come out for Icelandic. What does LoJazz want to do? Because I really think you're just going to pick jungle here. I don't think you're going to let it go to the next phase.
You could lock in a pretty devastating support if they want to rock the Heimerdinger here. Like, there is a world where AMI save jungle till last. Like, does Prosperity just end up banning it out? But you're right, the Xin Zhao is going to come in. That's fine. I like Xin Zhao because you have the ability to peel the Wukong off with the ultimate, as well as Sivir damage isn't going to be too crazy because of the Crescent Sweep there and just how much damage it can negate, especially if you throw it on top of your Jinx. Jinx essentially becomes invulnerable, and she can just kind of run at you with a Xin Zhao on top of her. Like, there's a lot of ways that AMI can get really, really shrewd with this composition. Is they are going to ban that Nautilus away here. That's interesting because, like, they get R4 pick, so, like, I would have tried to force Prosperity to do it. Nautilus into Sivir, not the best matchup, but it's still, like, fine, right? Like, Spell Shield. If your mentality is, I don't want to pick Engage because Sivir has Spell Shield, like, maybe you just pick Alistar here. Yeah. Like, right? Like, maybe you just pick Alistar, and then you just force the Sivir Spell Shield. But Prosperity can also go Sivir Alistar if they want. So, the Braum ban, again, not really worth it. We are dwindling down the supports as well because of how many have been picked up. And thinking about Protoss's champion pool, Heimerdinger's still available, Elise still available. I don't think that's going to be that good because she is very much a single target CC character. But AMI have banned Alistar away. You have R4. Like, what are you going to pick here?
You also are the comp that I think doesn't want to play Engage. So you don't need to pick. I guess we have already lost Rel and Leona, right? So, but you don't need to pick you don't need a Blitzcrank, you don't need a Thresh, you don't need a Rakan. The other Prosperity's the one that I think needs that because I think Rakan. All right, I don't know what's going on with these support bans because I think AMI have a Jinx Victor that are going to outrange the Sivir and make it really treacherous for Wukong to run into them. So I would have thought they would want, you know, the peeling support of an Alistar. I think Prosperity need the Engage, so them banning Rakan. All right, we're doing Jinx Lulu. Okay, that makes sense. That's fine for AMI because they are trying to play back, play disengage. I feel like they thrive on
Prosperity. Just lock Blitzcrank and absolutely blow up AMI's draft right now.
Yeah, that's a good call.
That's so crazy.
There you go, Shivy. All right, yeah. So. Inflame wrecks this draft. Yeah, I am 100% confident. If AMI get a reset though, like if Arcane Storm resets and this Jinx resets, good night.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because I would have loved to see Prosperity take the Wukong Rakan angle that you were going to lead into before I kind of like rudely interrupted you with the Blitzcrank.
No,
but the thing is, this Prosperity, like, yeah, Blitzcrank ruins the draft as long as Inflame understands how to land these hooks. But like you're saying, if some of those go, kind of miss and there's like a 20-second cooldown, like it's going to be up to Prosperity to really play heavy around this vision. My only concern is that Wukong doesn't really have like a bash brother to go in. Like, I love Wukong when he has supplemental engage. You don't really have that. It's like a Blitzcrank is a pick engage, right? And you could argue Sivir ulted Aatrox is kind of like a bash brother, but it's going to take him a little bit more time to get in, while Wukong's very instant, right? There's a lot of, you want something that can instantly follow up on you, like the Rakan, who can battle dance over to you and, get the charms going. But I feel like there might be moments where Icelandic Hero might be too far ahead for Prosperity on the engage, and he just kind of gets left out to dry, and there's no follow-up, right? Aurelian Soul has to fly over. Aatrox has to, like, kind of run over as well, right? You do have that Sivir on the hunt. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. And now you've got Ornn playing this big body protector. He doesn't even have to really use it to engage. He can use it as a disengage tool and then just allow AMI to reset the fight. Like, realistically, as long as Jinx and Victor are able to rotate and free hit multiple rotations of their spells and auto attacks, yeah, I think AMI still has a pretty solid draft. It's very much going to hinge on Prosperity, specifically Inflame, to see how much you can blow it up.
It is really reliant. It's AMI relying on their DNA that we've known them for all of 2025. They are leading into a super slow-paced comp that if you let the game go too long, you let them hit certain items, they just kind of have a bunch of denials that make the game impossible for you to play. I do understand it's versus Sivir and Aurelion Sol, so there is like scaling on both sides. Get ready, folks. We're going 30 plus minutes once again, and we'll continue this talk because we need to get onto the Rift because this game is going to go 40 goddamn minutes. But continuing that talk, like, polymorph value is insane here. You polymorph the Wukong when he goes in, that shuts it down. You have a Graviton Well, you have the Crescent Guard, you have the Ornn. There are so many protections for AMI to kind of just play as slow as possible, wait to reset front to back. It is going to be on Icelandic hero, Arya getting leads early to make sure that AMI can never reach that break point that they've won so many games at the tier 3, tier 2 level doing.
They've got ornaments available. Victor and Jinx are most likely going to be the first two upgrades. Like, yeah, it is, like you said, very reliant on Prosperity, gaining those early game leads and kind of just putting the chokehold onto AMI and never really letting go, right? Keeping the foot on their neck and saying, you know what? I'm not going to give you an ounce of room to breathe. You're not going to be allowed to get the reset. I do like this summoner spell choice from Baz. The barrier is not going to save you if you get hooked anyways. So the fact that you have Ghost to once you reset, you can Ghost in these fights and go crazy. But look at Kongzi. I love the ability to cheat resets, especially on Sivir, because you can just so quickly push lanes once you start getting those items going, once you start getting your like components for that first legendary item. And the fact that Kongzi now has teleport available to him, he can just cheat this laning phase really, really well and cheat waves really well, especially into what is essentially, okay, nice hook.
Only problem with these early game hooks is that Kongji is playing Sivir, so
yeah,
what's the most burst you're going to push down? So maybe Protoss recognizing that. He's like, all right, that's fine. I'm just going to get this lane prio. But hey, it's important to start hitting the hooks early because that means you're going to hit the hooks later when you can get the kills.
Warming up the cannon for sure here. The point I was going to make is like it's important for Kongzi to have this teleport because he's at such a range disadvantage, especially if Baz is really abusing that rocket range, which he's doing right now. Like, yeah, Kongzi can't really walk up to this wave without taking a ton of damage here. So it's nice that he can essentially get a free reset and like full HP, essentially healing himself to full on like a 6 to 7 minute cooldown with the TP there. So we'll see how this laning phase ends up for bottom lane. I think it's up to Baz and Protoss to really start abusing the double range into single melee. But RetroZing and Lycamaz are going to be completely content on never killing each other. Like, they'll be fine if they just farm. Like, they don't mind.
Only thing that'll get that going is the junglers, as we do see the knock up, the ignite, the hook all onto Baz. And yeah, this is early game Sivir. It's really hard to have a ton of kill threat. Now the range is coming across. Kongji's going to have to flash over a zap, but it's going to be Inflame flashing back over Protoss. Doesn't get the knock up, so a heal speed up from Protoss. Now dropped. Was that 4 summoners in a matter of 10 seconds there, Shibby?
If I'm low Jazz, I'm licking my lips right now because Inflame has no summoner spells. Kongzi doesn't have flash. Like, I am doing everything in my power to start ganking this bottom lane and putting pressure. Whether it even if they are seen, getting behind them, getting those kills. Because if Baz gets accelerated in a game like this, he is going to be nigh unstoppable. In the same way that you had Baz in that Ezreal game not have a lot of threat. Like, realistically, Icelandic hero has to flash, clone, like, commit a lot of resources to get on top of Baz. And Protoss has the ability to completely wipe that away with a polymorph and a wild growth, right, to keep Baz safe. So, yeah, I think, okay.
Low Jazz going after the Space Dragon, who got RetroZing very low, but Icelandic's also here. Lycamaz's got to flash, but he doesn't do it in time. The wind becomes lightning. believe goes through Icelandic, or Icelandic was right over top of it. No, it doesn't matter now. LoJazz got first blood, and now he's got Protoss coming over for extra shield. Sure, the hook knockup may be enough, but it's not. LoJazz and Protoss pick up 2 first kills, and they're going after Inflame. The knockup lands. It's going to be 3. It is 3. Fades of Warfare secured for the super scaling AMI.
Really, really good gank from LoJazz there. Didn't opt in for a reset after he cleared his camps. You just saw Lycamaz playing really greedy there. And yeah, no, the wind becomes lightning isn't Icelandic Hero's fault. Lycamaz flashed in a straight freaking line. Like he just flashed over the wall, and maybe that was good positioning on LoJazz to kind of get that wind becomes lightning. But yeah, if he flashes like slightly diagonal away from it, he might live for a little bit. Also nice from Protoss to get that reset on the top side. He was already walking top, recognized that his jungler is in a sticky situation and makes sure that he's alive there. Very, very well played from AMI there, and that's going to give them a nice little early game lead onto the Xin Zhao.
And that's what's important, is that it's on the Xin Zhao. As nice as it is to talk about getting early kills on the scaling champions to get them to snowball, they're going to scale 5. If you can create a snowball threat for a bruiser, a skirmish-based champion in your comp, that provides so much wondrous capabilities, especially knowing that LoJazz in this comp with the Crescent Guard, he's kind of there to play bodyguard. It's not like a normal Xin Zhao game. You're kind of playing bodyguard with Crescent Guard. You're trying to soak a bunch of damage. So if you can get Sunder Sky much earlier, if you can force 1v1 trades and just get more gold to tank up more space for these later game fights, it becomes much more valuable to me than potentially getting this Jinx, one of those early kills, or maybe Victor's a bit better just for the augment upgrades, but I like this on LoJazz a lot.
Yeah, and he can also play a much more aggressive style if he's far ahead, right? If he has the item lead, if he's indexing into what we probably presume is going to be Sundered Sky, into Sterax, into like Black Cleaver, Death Dance, like that's a very deceptively beefy Xin Zhao. And if he has that item lead on you, instead of trying to create space and protecting his team by Crescent Guarding on top of like the Jinx and the Victor, he can go in, Crescent Guard, and really create a ton of space for both of his carries to work. So there's different ways to play this Xin Zhao to create opportunities for your carries. The other kind of thing that we didn't know, and this is kind of my fault, we didn't really talk about, is that when you have an enchanter support like that in the fact of Lulu, the amount of early game power you have when you pair up like an enchanter with a Xin Zhao, essentially a melee bruiser, it's absolutely disgusting. But Inflame,
flash, knock up, Baz has to flash, Icelandic's here as well. And they're just gonna take the flash off of Baz for now. But gotta make note of that if you're Icelandic, especially once you get Cyclone up with Inflame, Baz should not be able to exist in bottom lane comfortably.
No, not at all here. The flash clone into Cyclone should be a guaranteed kill onto Baz there, even if he does pop that ghost. But Protoss will have that wild growth available, will have the heal and the polymorph, so it may not be as easy as we predict here. I'm going to be really watching and really paying attention to Protoss specifically, because he will be the reason that Baz lives or dies. Realistically, it's going to be all on him, because you can't just play only around your flash timing if you're Baz, because that's every 5 minutes. Like, you're going to lose so much momentum onto the map. You're going to lose so many objectives. So you kind of have to trust your support in that, hey, I'm in a position really aggressively here, and I'm going to need you to polymorph and overgrowth me at the right times to stop CC and to stop a lot of people so I can free it. So this Protoss-Baz duo is arguably in its most important role this game rather than in game 1 and game 2.
Without a doubt, Shibby, as we do see the lane swap come across here. Aatrox heads to the bot side for Prosperity. Sivir and Blitz make their way up top side with the Grubs and now spawning. Game 2, we saw LoJazz do a really good job getting the first 3 neutral objectives for his squad, and with a 2-0 lead on the Xin Zhao, no reason to slow down by this point. So they're going to go after Lycamaz, who dashes into the Graviton well. The threat of the Ornhorn got Retrozing the killing blow onto Lycamaz. It's actually Decoy that gets it, but still a huge pick to find, because now Grubs are just no reality of a contest here if you're Prosperity.
Yeah, and Decoy lost about a plate for a plate and a half, so he's completely fine here. Also picks up a nice little kill for himself, has already opted in for the Bammies plus Bramble Vest. So Arya has ultimate available. Aatrox into Ornn. A lot of Aatrox love this matchup because of the ability to just drain consistently off the tank, especially once he pops the World Ender. And you can see why they love this matchup. Even with the slight item lead or the armor that Decoy has opted in for himself, Arya is just absolutely giving it to him. Nice hook, but Inflame so far has landed these hooks with no real follow-up. Like you mentioned, Kongzi, he's got a cull and a pickaxe. Like, even if you land these hooks, you're not really trading back a ton of damage. Uh-oh, Icelandic.
That's what makes it. Okay, Icelandic now going to be caught. The flash forward from LoJazz. He is in a killer mode right now, making sure that AMI and playoffs is a reality here in the ACL as they go 5-0 up on kills, 2.5K, 2K up on gold. We thought this comp was going to play slow, Shibi.
Oh, the Xin Zhao and LoJazz specifically, like, it's a little bit tough to play the early game slow, and it's really just been him and Protoss making plays across the map here. The jungle support synergy from these two guys have absolutely dominated early game, and that's maybe something lacking from Icelandic and Inflame here in these past couple games, where I didn't really see them buddy up and do too much onto the map. Despite that, they were able to take that game too. Yeah, I think right now LoJazz and Protoss are operating on a completely different level as compared to Icelandic and Inflame.
Got them in just such a pristine spot. And if you're Prosperity, Shibi, how much are the alarm bells already like sounding for you? This gold lead does seem minuscule, but knowing the state of the game with the drafts we have and where we're going to be heading, how much are we up an extra DEFCON compared to a normal just 2K gold deficit at 10 minutes?
I mean, like, this is where you tell your team, like, we cannot make any more mistakes kind of situation, right? It's not that the game is over, but if we keep bleeding kills over to somebody like LoJazz, or if Baz end up picking up one, right? RetroZing already has 3 assists to his name. He's going to start getting that, the upgrades, the augments going. Like, yeah, you've got to kind of tell your team, especially if you're Arya, who's in, like, a pretty decent matchup, like, hey, we just need to stop trying to fight for stuff. Like, LoJazz is just so far ahead. We need to make plays with Inflame. We need to find picks here and there, but we can't just get over aggressive, because there is a point where, like Amaz and Kongzi get to that late game item stage, right, where they can contend with Victor and Jinx. And I really like Wukong in the late game as opposed to Xin Zhao, just because of that, you know, shred and cyclone potential. I think it can do a lot of damage, especially onto immobile carries like Jinx, like Victor. You can have Arya and Aurelion Sol slam down a bunch of AoE and a bunch of CC and damage onto you guys. So, yeah, DEFCON 2, we'll call it.
DEFCON 2, but steadily rising, especially now that the Dragon WinCon comes online here as well for AMI. LoJazz gets the Chemtech Drake, Ocean Soul. Not the favorite one you'd want, but still a valuable one nonetheless. And now we're kind of just waiting for some of these big item break points to come through for AMI that I think they should be able to cash in soon here. Market League, I assume Baz B's sitting on a good amount of gold towards Yuntal. RetroZing already has the Roa completed. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit. I forget this Jinx hasn't done anything. It's 0-0-0. But hey, the big zero that matters for Baz is in the death department. So that's big. You got the Roa stacking up. You have the first tank item on this Ornn. We're going to get to see it from Decoy as he gets flashed on and knocked up. Icelandic's here as well. Cyclone down. Going to have a second bout. Decoy's going to flash away. The Ignite does tick away, but I think Icelandic should have just enough damage, and he will.
Take it?
Decoy is shut down.
Oh, I don't like that from Inflame, but I guess you just got to take what you can get there. Maybe if you don't, Decoy gets out. Somebody gets there. They trade the 1-for-1. Like, I kind of wish Icelandic ended up getting that kill just because how far behind he is at the moment in comparison to LoJazz. But a kill is a kill. I was a little suspect on the early flash commitment, but a flash follow was completely fine there. And yeah, Baz did do nothing, but he also bought Berserker Greaves. Like, he just full indexed into attack speed, so that's why he's kind of a little bit broke on that end. Baz should be fine though. Icelandic doesn't have Cyclone, at least for like another minute here. So the playmaking potential for Prosperity is going to dip a little bit, but luckily there's nothing too much on the map. By the time this Herald comes up, Prosperity should have all their tools ready for a fight. And if they can get like the double Cyclone into the Grand Starfall from Aurelion Sol, then that's a big combo that they can land onto Victor and Jinx here. That's going to be interesting, as he does have that upgraded version.
Really pivotal. We look towards where the game could go next here. Like Amaz does have that Sky's Descent, that's big to show, but Horn's coming on across towards him. Decoy is going to get the knockup, but shouldn't have enough damage on the tank assassin in order to get that kill. Just going to force him back towards his turret, as LoJazz was looming around. Game could stall out a good bit here, Shibby, with both of these comps the way they're designed, because we don't have any big neutrals to play for. Maybe we'll see both teams start to prioritize knocking down first turret, but the feats of strength have already been secured here by AMI thanks to the 3 for 3 on the new early objectives. Got the feats of warfare done. Do you really need to play like that dramatically if you're AMI right now? I feel like they can just kind of comfortably sit back and wait for Prosperity to get desperate, because they're still waiting on these scaling threats, and with the Jinx and Victor just fine.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this, kind of 20-minute, post 20-minute game looks like, because right now, I would say early to mid game has been pretty dominant from AMI here, and they've kind of nurtured that 2,000 gold lead that we talked about, and they've kept it pretty consistent, which is also a good thing for Prosperity, that it hasn't gotten worse, like we said, right? DEFCON 2, they can't really make any more mistakes to actually make a proactive play here. Rift Herald, he's going to be spawning pretty soon right now, so we're going to see if they're going to opt in for a fight. Sky's Descent.
His Descend is going to slow Baz up. He gets caught as well in the queue, but he's able to get back towards safety. LoJazz trying to threaten the backline as well. It's Icelandic on the front line trying to hold everybody. Decoy gets hooked in with the wild growth double knockup. Pops Kongji, the Crescent Guard, keeping LoJazz topped off. It's Arya that has to flash after Protos, but he doesn't even get the Lulu. You got the Aurelion Soul breathing light onto everybody, but it doesn't have enough damage, and it's only Lycamaz to survive. 4-for-1 fight win. AMI are rolling.
Talked about Protoss' uses of that wild growth of the polymorph, and that was a very good usage of the wild growth there. Like you said, the double knockup. Decoy got pulled in, and instantly he's like, oh, I can just knock you guys up. Protoss like, yeah, sure, let me do it. And gets both Kongzi and, I believe, Inflame there. That allows for the reset. Baz doesn't pick up any kills, but gets the damage needed. That's 4 kills for Decoy and 3 kills for LoJazz. That might not be what you want on AMI, but you'll take it nonetheless.
And now, I mean, this game has just been blown open. It is all AMI dominated, and you can start to see it come through in some of these items as well. It's going to be 2 items shortly for guys like LoJazz, as well on top of Retrozing, who, again, we need to stress, just kind of scale infinitively, and it's hard to really shut them down. Kongji is doing a good job trying to match with 2 items, but this just feels like such a hard Sivir game to ever play out. It's always about Sivir. How many safe autos can you get down in a fight? I don't think the range is going to allow for that. And now with the Ocean Soul, going to be on Soul Point here for AMI. This game really feels like it's in tatters for Prosperity, Jimmy.
Yeah, and, it's tough because it's such an early Ocean Soul as well. It's a 22-minute soul. This might be the earliest one we got this series in terms of Dragon Souls, and it is just kind of, it's not game-winning, like you said, but it just makes Prosperity's job so much more difficult, especially because if you're consistently healing, Protoss as well as providing shields, like if you can just live that much longer, the extra ability rotations that we talk about that Ocean Soul can provide really can just swing those fights. And Lycamaz, goodbye, my friend.
Right, Fallen Star not going to land the stun because LoJazz flashes right over it, and Lycamaz is sent packing once more. They double TP in Kongji and Arya, and they do have Inflame, so they're going to be able to catch out LoJazz, but he's healing so much, it takes forever to kill him off. He delays just long enough for the turret to go down. Decoy and Icelandic in their own 1v1, and Icelandic does not want that smoke into the Ornn, and the rest of Prosperity are going to look for the hook onto Retrosync, but he actually welcomes that with open arms because Baz and Protoss are here to protect him. Arcane Storm shook in its first reset, and it's just going to be Arya that's going to pay the price. The healing is not enough right now. Again, Prosperity are too far behind to really value any sort of fight, any sort of skirmish.
Yeah, every single where you panned, AMI was winning the fight, right? Monkey doesn't beat Rock, unfortunately, so Ornn is absolutely going to dominate that 1v1 on the bottom side. We talked about Blitzcrank completely blowing up this draft. Unfortunately, if you go down super early and you give like 3 kills over the Xin Zhao and you give a couple kills over to the big tank, yeah, this Blitzcrank is not going to be able to do much. There's also just not enough follow-up, right? Like, I feel really bad for Inflame because he's hitting pretty solid hooks. He's hooked in Retrozing a couple times here. I think he's even taken Protoss in once or twice, but there's just not enough damage. There's nowhere on Prosperity's team where they have that follow-up burst here, whether it's Icelandic, whether it's Arya. There's just no follow-up, so this Blitzcrank is just kind of left alone to his own devices. 2 hands and nothing to really show for it.
Nothing to show for it, nothing to really catapult them back into a contention spot. Getting towards that point where it's AMI that really have to make mistakes to fall out of favor in this game. Retrozing as well, Leandri's, the burn, I like that for the Aatrox. He's going to have the Roa completely stacked up in no time. Decoys soon to come online with some of those Ornn augmentations, obviously to himself first, but you know what game is going well when Protoss feels comfortable like gliding within hook range of a Blitzcrank, and there's no threat of him ever dying.
Yeah, I mean, he's just toying with Inflame because he knows, like, even if Inflame lands it, I'm fine, right? I have Polymorph, I have Shield. If I need to, I can Wild Growth. And even if you do commit it, you have my whole team behind me. Like, I think Baz and Lojaz were there ready to go, like, to jump onto Inflame there. So, yeah, I think Prosperity is in a pretty difficult position here. And it's really tough to come back against compositions like this because once you give that gold lead over, especially into these like more late game centric team compositions, it is very hard to take it back. Although Inflame,
he gets hooked, he gets knocked up, the pick is found. Lycamaz getting the kill, and he's going to drop the skies instead to make sure there's no afterthought of an engage here from AMI, but it's Prosperity there, maybe looking for another hook. They're playing off of Inflame's tempo. He wants Protoss. He's going to get Lojaz, who drops the Crescent Guard, and Arya. He's going to have to use the World Ender. Well, Inflame went a little too far forward on his own, but Retrozing maybe did the same as well as Icelandic gets the Cyclone knockup. Retrozing goes down. Both Baz and Retrozing gifting their shutdowns over to Prosperity, a lifeline to Prosperity.
Yeah, it's only a 1K gold lead separating these two teams. Mid lane tier 1 might go down here. AMI feeling a little confident. And yep, Lojaz is going to be the driver of this Rift Herald, but he might be in some trouble. No Wild Growth available.
No Crescent Guard either, but there's no World Ender, there's no Skies Descend, there's really just no ults. Everyone's just kind of going melee range, throwing around, but it's Kongji that's going to TP on in with this Sivir. Can he get those safe autos down? Yes, with the Bouncing Blades, he's going to trade out Lojaz. Baz trying to defend his turret, but it's the full range Q from Lycamaz, and now Arya re-engages with that slow, forces Baz to flash out, but the turret's helping out with the zap, the rocket, it splits the upright, but Baz still gets the reset. He's not going to chase Icelandic down. He's going to take his double kill and make sure Prosperity think twice about running down this Jinx.
Just talked about how it's really hard to wrestle that lead away from a team like AMI, who are that late game composition, and AMI just positions a little too aggressively. Baz playing by himself in mid lane when he's probably not supposed to, and really good job from Inflame popping the W, the speed boost into the flash, into the knockup. I really like how he goes for the knockup first, just to guarantee the hook afterwards. Really, really well played, and right now, if you look at the 80 carries, Slayer, Kongzi's actually slightly ahead of Baz at the moment. Like, you look at all the lanes, Ornn really has the only substantial lead, as well as Lojaz, who's got a nice 1,000 gold lead for himself. But the carries across both teams, they are absolutely dead even. And if that's the case, after such a disastrous early game, I'll call it, for Prosperity, you are back down to DEFCON 1.
Problem is, you go to DEFCON 3 if you give this Ocean Soul away, as Inflame goes for the fadeaway hook there at the Hex Flash, but Prosperity, look how little control they have of the river right now. They are fighting to make sure their own jungle isn't warded by the enemy. And you called out how early of a soul this could be, how early of a win con this could be for AMI, and it's going to be Lojaz to start things off again with the Crescent Guard. He's trying to create space for his Victor and his Jinx, and Boy, they do a great job of it, because they stunned up Icelandic, but he won't fall. And look at the sweet spots connecting for Arya. Immediate shutdowns fly through for Kongji and company, and there's nowhere for Retrozing or Lojaz to run. The perfect team fight at the critical moment for Prosperity. This game is blown wide open once more.
Very well played from Prosperity. Lycamaz hits a 4-man Aurelion Soul ultimate. That was a falling star, by the way. It wasn't the Sky's Descent. It wasn't the, upgraded version. Lands it onto multiple members. And that's those situations where we talked about where Arya can get in, start landing those sweet spots. That's where they can start blowing up this team composition, because there's not too many ways for them to get off, right? Like, unless you have Crescent Card available where you can sweep everybody away. Decoy had already committed the Ornn ultimate onto multiple members. Very, very well played, because Lycamaz and Kongzi got to free hit the whole time. And unfortunately, Baz, no sums available, no flash, no ghost. So he unfortunately does not have a way to reset and does not have a way to get out of that fight, even with Protoss' Wild Growth and Polymorph. So very well played from Prosperity. Once again, Prosperity navigating this mid to late game arc much better than AMI. And in a weird twist of events, AMI doing really good this early game, but not able to translate it into a definitive lead, a definitive kind of hold onto the game.
Like Amaz, late series Aurelion Sol, it's just built different no matter what stage you put him on. Has the Skies Ascend back up again already. That's a torrential pace to be able to get that fight-altering ultimate back around. And like you called out, yeah, 300. We already have 300 stacks on Like Amaz's Aurelion Sol. This is disgusting, and you can play through that pretty comfortably if you are Prosperity. It's coming down to what these initial engages look like because there's so little setup for them. You called it earlier on. Prosperity, it's so pick-driven with this Blitzcrank. And for AMI, it's stretching these fights out as long as they can, but now they really have to worry about Aurelion Sol, who does outrange virtually everybody in this game.
Yeah, that Breath of Light, absolutely killer, especially if you can land, like you said, the upgraded Aurelion Sol to disguise the sand here onto multiple members. Like, there's not really a lick of MR on any of the carries here, so it lands onto them, especially slowing them down, allows Icelandic Hero and Ahri to sort of catch up, right? Especially because now Icelandic Hero has Flash Cyclone available very, very soon. And if you look at Baz here, he doesn't have his Flash up. He needs to tell his team to wait. Don't do anything brash. Don't do anything dangerous. I need my summoner spells up or we are going to lose the game completely. The game very much rests on this bot lane's shoulders specifically. We called it out earlier on, and it seems like it's coming into fruition, and Prosperity has recognized it because they have been landing CC after CC onto Baz. The last 3 fights, Baz has been taken out first.
And even on AMI recognize how much Baz is their win con is he gets the first Ornn augment onto that IE, 1,000 gold worth of a stats buff over towards Baz. But you still need a couple more items on this Jinx before he is a true late-game scaling threat in Baz's case. Kongji, by the way, who does have that gold lead in the AD carry position, does get the IE, does get the LDR. So for all the worry we had about Sivir kind of functioning up against this AMI comp, if they get fights again like they were the last couple times around, Kongji's bouncing blades are going to do a ludicrous amount of damage because now they're virtually all going to be critting.
Yeah, it is going to be pretty disgusting, right? Once he starts bouncing through your whole team, and especially if it's going to be bouncing between the 2 carries and Retchazing and Baz. There's not a lot of lifesteal on this side. You do have Redemption built for Protoss, but that's not going to do too much, right? You have to get landed on the multiple members, and you have to make sure that your team can actually stay in the circle. This is the first time Otacon hasn't been taken, like, right off rip this series as well. We've gotten 26 minutes, nearly 27 minutes in the game, and it has not been taken, so that's a huge swing, right? One team fight. Again, we talk about this snowballing of objectives. Dragon's up in a minute. Baron is live. Otacon is live. One big team fight from either of these teams, and it wipes 3, maybe 4 members. The winning team, the team that comes out on top of that fight, has a plethora of objectives to secure on the map and a plethora of resources to put them further into the driver's seat. So it'll be really interesting to see how these 2 teams play it out. I know they recognize it, and especially if you're playing for a spot in a guaranteed playoff match in the ACL, I mean, both teams are playing like really, really nerves of steel right now.
Every decision, every little movement just amplified knowing the stakes. Glad you called that out, Chibi. And the fact that we're going to have, you know, a potential Ocean Soul point, an Otacon, and a Baron on the Rift at the same time, man, do those decisions really just, yeah, it's just whatever call you make is so integral to not only this game, not only this series, but your season. As we get the classic NA RAM to start it off here, both teams kind of sticking together as a 5 stack because we have 2 team fight driven comps, and a fight is looming no matter how you slice it.
Both these teams
on
the hunt.
Yeah, they're going to speed up the Wukong, they're speed up Inflame.
Inflame!
For a hook angle. He's not going to be able to get close. They have no vision in this brush, and it's actually Icelandic's going to face check. He does use the Trickster to get back out. Look at Arya on the top side, but is on a ward. So AMI have all 5 of these members mapped. There's Inflame with the first hook. It's going to go wide, but it's Prosperity that have control of the mid lane, and with Sivir, they're just going to burn it. But I like this from AMI. You're not going to be able to have first strike towards Dragon or mid lane. We're going to force the Baron. We're going to look to flip this whole game, this
flip?
whole series on this Baron. Arya on the
I don't
top
like
side going
this.
to try and break on in. There's the redemption down. There's the singularity going to hook onto Lojaz. Here's the skies descend. Look at Arya get towards the back line as Lycomos kills off Lojaz. Arya's healing through everything, and he forces Protoss back. Baz gets the wild growth. Retrosync, they need to dish out the damage. Lycomos goes a bit too far forward, goes into the stasis. Good flash from Baz away from Arya. The hook goes wide from Inflame, and Retrosync gets Kongji. Decoy's able to knock down a second kill with no Lycomos. Prosperity have no hope at winning this game.
Icelandic hero is still alive, has the flash smite up very, very soon. AMI could be making a crucial mistake, but instead, never mind. Prosperity's jungler isn't going to even tempt fate here because you know if he dies, everything gets taken off the map. Very well played Fright from Baz and Retrozing. Lojaz goes down. It looked really bad because Arya was on the flank. A hook landed onto Lojaz, but they just could not get the damage down onto the Jinx, who was firing and firing and firing and firing away, abusing the rocket farm, as well as a good polymorph coming out from Protoss and the wild growth. That is Baron and Otacon taken off the map. That is a massive golden EXP swing going over to AMI here. And the silver lining, potentially for Prosperity, is that you don't get, Ocean Soul over to AMI, which they will probably eventually get. Uh-oh, wait a minute.
Oh boy, okay. No, they got it, Lojaz? Lojaz flashes and steals it, they don't even get the Ocean Soul! Okay, wait, okay, hook on to Lojaz though, he's fine. I cannot believe Prosperity. Oh.
Check the circumference of that man's balls, because those are absolutely massive. Lojaz flashing in says, you don't get any objective. Baron, Otacon, and Dragon are all mine.
Funniest part was that Lojaz didn't even secure either of the first two you mentioned, because he died. He's like, nah, all right, listen, I'm the jungler. I get to pick the neutral objectives, and you know what? I'm going to make it flashy. Literally stealing away the Ocean Soul. That might have just been the nail in the coffin here for Prosperity, giving that soul over with Baron, with Otacon.
That's the Mike Breen bang, bro. That's done. It's done. It's tough for Prosperity to come back. Ocean Soul plus all the objectives on the map for them. You get the Baron now they're pushing down. They're going to knock this tier 3 over. You've got Otacon already in their back pocket. That's going to start snowballing, especially because of the effect that it gives once you take down a member. Absolutely insane here. Very well played from AMI. Just kind of flipping that late game situation on top of its head.
They begin the siege, but it's always a tough task into a Sivir and an Aurelion Soul. And Icelandic looking to snap back onto Retrozing. Wild Growth immediately comes out. The hook does land onto Lojaz. Arya off to the side, but Kongji needs to provide safety.
Whoa!
It's the huge fallen star again from Lycomon, but it can't get Baz. He's able to kite back, use the Ocean Soul to heal back up. Kongji does the same, but Lycomon is on the hunt. The Lulu Shields are providing a ton of value here as the zap goes on. The Singularity lands. Lycomon rescuing Prosperity from the brink of destruction once more. And they're going to chase Decoy down and add another chapter to this series, to this game 3, by acing Decoy off and acing AMI with Ocean Soul, Baron, Otacon, everything. Lycomon will not lose this series.
And look at this. Kongzi has been
they might just
mid lane
win
this
now.
whole time.
They're going to win, Jimmy. They're going to win it right off the back of that.
Lojaz is up in 5 seconds. I don't think it's going to be enough time. Retrozing is up in 10. Slayer, you might be right. I might have just cursed AMI there. That's so unfortunate. Lycomos, it's a massive falling star. Wait a minute. We're getting a little too high, Slayer. Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
Man, but the anti-siege, maybe I understated the power of Sivir and Aurelion Soul on anti-siege, because that was disgusting. Lycomos is Aurelion Soul, man. You got a ban for it in late series scenarios.
It's built different. It's absolutely disgusting. He has landed multiple regular Aurelion Soul ultimates as well as the Skies Descend, right? Falling Stars or Skies Descend, this guy has been on the money so far. And granted, it does get a little bit easier to hit as you get more stacks, but the fact that he's been able to catch out Baz nearly every single time, the only fight AMI truly won in this late game is when Lycamaz couldn't land that big ultimate onto Baz, when he was allowed to free fire. Mind you now, Baz does have flash available. He didn't have flash available for that siege. They only ended up picking up that tier 2, and we are 34 minutes into the game. This could easily go to 36, if not 37. Elder's coming up in 2.5 minutes right now. Baron's up at another minute 45. Inflame?
Inflame. Okay,
flash somebody over.
He's going to pull Decoy, but they should have enough armor pen to shred through Decoy. They get the silence down. Here's the Grand Star. The Skies Descend. Decoy lives for now, but Arya's over the wall. Maybe a little bit too audaciously. Arya's going to give Baz his reset, and now Baz can turn his attention back forward as Low Jazz goes 1 versus 3 with the rocket coming through, though. The Emperor's Divine as well. You get the wind becomes lightning. You get everything. Low Jazz with the GA survives, and they're going to TP Decoy back in. Retrosing, flashing after Lycamaz. Another bombastic team fight.
And Arya and Kongzi are down for 30 seconds. Kongzi down for 40 here. You do have Lycamaz's wave clear. This is not Baron-empowered minions, but still, the HP regen, like, they're all healthy. They're back up to full HP here. They're ready for another siege, and they've got 20 seconds before all 5 members of Prosperity come back online. That reset, that, like you said, overzealous charge from Arya might have sealed the deal, but instead, AMI are going to play it close to their chest. They're just going to take down that bottom lane inhibitor. So 2 catastrophic team fights, one going each way, only results in an inhibitor for each team. Aaron's up in 25 seconds. Dragon up in a minute. Slayer, if you're AMI here, who's coming off the reset, who's coming off the gold, surely you trade Elder for Baron here, right? If the situation comes down to it.
You have to, because walking into a very fog-filled topside river with Inflame around, well, I mean, you saw it happen when Decoy got hooked. That's the Ornn. That's who you want to get hooked right now into Prosperity. And he nearly died through that entire escapade. But unfortunately, Super's pushing in that bot side and a mid-wave to answer. Prosperity have to give over control of that Baron pit, and now they become the ones walking into treacherous waters.
Yeah, it's not too much to punish here. The Baron's going to go down relatively fast. Decoy doing a good job zoning right now. And instead, it's at 10,000 HP. They peeled off of it. They're just going to wait for those super minions to do work in that bottom side. Elder Dragon coming up at about 15 seconds. Slayer. Now, this is where Prosperity chooses. Do they rip and ship this Baron into their team? Or do they start working their way down towards that Elder? Kongzi's already headed to it. No way he thinks about soloing it, right?
He's pinging it. And they have a mid-wave full of supers of their own. Kongzi, is he going after the Elder? They're going to trade this Baron. Prosperity are really spread thin. Yeah,
he's doing it.
Oh my God, he could just blow the Elder open on his own. Oh my, AMI have no idea that Prosperity are about to get an Elder buff. They have to fight now before that huge buff comes across, but they can't get any of these kills isolated. Goes to the cycle. There's the Elder through. AMI are Pikachu Shock Face. Kongji's TPing in. What a hero play. The Starfall lands on a Protoss as well. Baz is trying to desperately run down Kongji, who's using on the hunt to run away from Low Jazz. Crescent Guard goes up, wind becomes lightning. Low Jazz, is he gonna sacrifice himself for Kongji? He will, but the rest of Prosperity have Elder, and that means Lycamaz has Elder, and there's nothing for Decoy to do as the breath of light burns through his health bar. One more Q should do it for Arya. No, somehow Decoy survives, and we trade Elder and Baron between our 2 teams for 2 kills apiece.
In the most unconventional of ways possible, and those super minions on the bottom side don't even get to hit the Nexus, really not that much. Kongzi, what a play! That must have been called by him, like, hey, let me just take this Elder. There's no vision, they have no clue it's happening. 3 members of AMI have Baron, but like you mentioned, big bad Lycamaz, a dragon for dragon. He is Elder Dragoned up right now. This guy is an absolute menace. If he lands a Skies Descend onto Baz, who, by the way, doesn't have a flash available, and every time he hasn't had flash, he has died in these fights, like, yeah, we need to wait. AMI need to pump the brakes. The Baron was just a takeaway. That's all it was at this point, because Elder got traded. And again, they're on the same timers, Slayer. They're the exact same timers.
Now you've got Kongji up to full build. Lycamaz to full build. GA comes through for Baz. That's pretty massive if they can wait for the Elder buff to expire, because it's still kind of a pig-centric comp here from Prosperity, no matter what way you slice it. So you have a GA and a Zonya's done for Baz and Retrozing. They have the ability to buy some space. Low Jazz's GA is about to come back up. So as long as AMI can survive this Elder, which they should be able to do pretty effortlessly with Baron, they do feel like they're in a bit better spot, but it's so hard to dictate by this point. We're full build on so many members. Should be, it really just all comes down to those little mistakes, those little positioning errors, and who can find the better engage to decide this game.
It'll be about execution, and if Lycamaz is able to land the Stars Descend here, Skies Descend onto multiple members like he's done every single time. Here we go!
He gets knocked up. There's the Skies Descend. The Elder has ticked away. Prosperity don't have that big buff. There's the Crescent Guard coming out from low Jazz. Make sure no damage from Kongji can be valuable. And they're going to re-engage on Arya, who TP'd towards his death. Now they have the inside track on mid lane as well. They got to get the wave up. The TP back from Lycamaz to try and cover this mid lane tier 3, because look at AMI. They still got Baron for at least one more wave.
Yeah, and the thing is, Baron and Elder on a 3-minute timer. If they're able to take these inhibs, at least one of them back, that's going to put Prosperity in a very precarious position, because they're going to have supers pushing into their base while these neutrals are up. They're going to have to make a very tough decision, and I don't think they're going to be able to sneak Elder a second time. Fool me once, shame on you, but I don't think they're going to be able to fool AMI 2 times in a row.
Only reason that Prosperity haven't had to sacrifice the game. Oh, hook onto low Jazz. Doesn't have the Crescent Guard up just yet. He's holding on to it desperately as he eats the breath of light. They do get that tier 2 turret down, but it's so hard to ever siege onto Prosperity because of this Aurelion Soul and this Sivir. Waves get the lead, an instant good cancel there from Decoy, goes unstoppable before he was hooked back into the buzzsaw that is this Aurelion Soul and Sivir. And now all of AMI will take the reset, and yeah, we're likely just going to set up for another Elder Baron what you gonna do scenario between our two teams.
A classic standoff, right? It is Elder versus Baron. Wherever you go, we're going to go onto the other side of the map here. And like I said, I don't think they're going to be able to sneak it once again. That was a one-time play from Prosperity, right? It's like the trick plays in NFL. You can only do it once in that game before people start catching on. You can't really consistently do it. So we'll see if Prosperity is able to get off another crazy audible like that, or if they just lose this fight. It's all about getting onto Baz. It's all about landing the Skies Descend onto this member. Kongzi needs to be able to free hit in these fights, and really don't need Arya TPing into his death. I'm very surprised that death was relatively inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Surely AMI was going to be able to push into the Nexus, or in at least to that tier 3.
Oh! Low Jazz, and he gets knocked up. The Crescent Guard, the Wild Growth, it's just enough for Low Jazz to survive, but there's a 4-man Falling Star again from Lycamaz, but Baz gets the reset. Low Jazz survives, and now they can just go on the hunt. Baz picks up the double, and maybe now they should have enough to try and push down the base. It's Lycamaz again, whose wave clear has to save them. Prosperity 3 versus 5 have to survive to keep their playoff hopes alive out of the first GSL stage.
Yeah, this is the spot, right? Guaranteed playoffs, or you got to play in the loser's bracket or the loser side of GSL in do-or-die consistent situations here. But it looks like AMI are going to go for the throw. Jinx gets the reset, Slayer.
The rockets are starting to fly. One more inhibitor should reset Baz again. But they're going to slow it down once more. They have Ocean Soul. They're going to heal back up, and they're going to try and go for the triple inhib. Really reserved approach here from AMI. They're going through all their checks and balances until they may be eaten by words, because Decoy throws himself under the 2 Nexus turrets. If they can burn them through, there's nothing to protect Lycamaz, who gets eaten up by Baz, goes into the stasis, but he's gonna go down. Drops the Skies Descend, but it won't matter. The post 40-minute buff comes through for AMI once more. They just have to hit the Nexus, and they will lock themselves playoffs of the ACL.
Beautiful late game positioning from Retrozing there. A victory secured for AMI. 42 and a half minutes. That's where AMI gets their buff. They head into the late game and they hit Super Saiyan 4 because it's absolutely impossible to contend with a team like that. Well played to Prosperity, though. They kept AMI on their toes with some really slick late game moves. The Sneak Baron in game 1, the Sneak Elder in game 3. Like, this is a team that if I'm matching up against Prosperity in that loser side of GSL, if I'm not on point, if I'm a less experienced team, they can get away with this slick stuff more consistently. Like, that is a really annoying team to play against. AMI able to handle every single curveball thrown their way, and they take the 2-1 victory, and they punch their ticket into the winner's side of the GSL bracket and guarantee themselves a playoff spot in the ACL 2025 Summer League.
A series. I just, at this point, my takeaway is I want to see these teams face off when elimination's at stake. I don't know if it will happen. There's so many outcomes that could occur in the bracket, especially in playoffs, but
we need to run back.
These two teams gave their all. We got all the stops. We got the Kongji Sivir, his Megamind level play to go for the Elder on his own, like a Aurelion Soul. We get like Decoy on his classic Ornn, Baz on a Jinx to try and we got everything, Shibby. And this, you know, in the grand scheme of the ACL matters very little compared to the series that was delivered.
Yeah. I think I need to see these two teams run it back once again. I didn't see these two teams run it back, and I need to see Icelandic back on American soil to run this back, because that might be a different team. The fact that Prosperity took AMI to 3 games with the guy on 110 ping playing from Iceland, yeah, I don't like that. Is we may be talking a different series potentially, but regardless of the situations that Prosperity chose to put themselves into, AMI take the 2-1 victory. Very well played from Apex Mission Impossible, and a nice little return game for Mr. Low Jazz, right? That's where he comes back. The banners are there. The jersey is there. He's like, oh yeah, I'm back. I'm back at AMI, guys. My Blue Water stint, I went for the money. It wasn't enough. I'm going to come back, guys. It's fine. Yeah, that's what happened.
Comes back and gets AMI back in ACL playoffs. So he gets a squad to a tier 2 level league in their playoff form here for Low Jazz.
Once again.
Once again. So shout out to AMI. Shout out to both of our teams putting on a great series. We have been alive for 3 hours and 3 games. If that doesn't tell you watch an AMI series, I don't know what will. But now we officially move into the second stage of GSL. We have our top 8 squads, including AMI, that will be officially going into playoffs. And we got to figure out where the other 16 teams will narrow down to get a playoff bracket. But for now, we bid you adieu. Big shout out to Shibby, always, saying some questionable things as we always do on broadcast, but having a fun one nonetheless. And Hummus, our awesome producer behind the scenes. It's time to get out of here, folks. Take care, and we'll see you soon.